going slow. Come on. There we go. We are live. Welcome to Talking Crit. We've got a full screen of people and way many people chatting away in our little chat room. So I am Mike Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR. Adjacent to me is my once-a-week work spouse, Mike Battalato, best known for leaving the screen at most inopportune times. Thank you to Texas Internet. Well, now next to me is none other than Courtney Campbell. You've seen his work for years. Oh, here's Mike coming back. Oh, hold on. I gotta move everybody around, all because Mike.
My internet went out for a second, then it went out, then turned back on. So maybe that's good. Maybe it rebooted, and I won't have any problems. I haven't any problems the last few weeks. I have been remarkably problem free the last few weeks. Post North Texas. Before that, it was my gosh!
Mike, don't even start. You're cursing us already.
Yeah, I don't want to curse this. I don't want to curse this.
Hello, Mike. Courtney, listen. You love him because the chat is full and chatty. So we'll be talking about the latest supplement for Sinless. And, of course, underneath me, don't take anything about that, is none other than the one, the only, Jim Kitchen. And, yes, Bob G. Jim is promoted to host. You know what? That's been the last couple of Talking Crits. He's on the thumbnail. He's there.
I'm the Paul Lind of this show.
He gets to hopefully get part of the gigantic profits this show generates.
I'm willing to. Paul Lind is who's Paul Lind?
Oh my God, Courtney, you are in the wheelhouse. I can't believe you don't know that. Hollywood Squares. You don't know Hollywood Squares.
I mean, I was like 6 the last time I watched.
I was too. Well, but
man, I was probably in my teens.
Maybe I'm old. Must be a lot. I'm a lot older than everybody.
A little. Here. I'm 46.
Okay, I'm a lot older than everybody here, as usual. I forget that I'm old, and I'm one of those old men. Like, you don't remember Buffalo Bob? He was great. Oh my God!
I watched Hollywood Squares, but I don't remember.
Well, you might be past the Paul. You might be past the Paul Lind days. Then Paul Lind was firmly in the 70s. That was the
yeah.
It was the 70s
before my time, right?
He was a 70s middle square always, and they gave him the best lines. Let's just say he got scripted the best lines. Any of the Hollywood Squares people, because it was scripted, folks. I'm gonna bust your illusion here. Hollywood Squares was scripted. Sorry.
Yeah, look, guys, it's okay. It's okay not to know things. There's a lot to know.
It was scripted, but Paul Lind got the middle square always got the best lines. Paul got the best lines.
Jen, later on this summer there will be a day where we have a giveveryway. But
oh my gosh, she would like to win $1 million. Well, we don't have it.
It'll involve alcohol. So everybody participating in that live stream will have alcohol in front of them. I'm just saying.
Really? Okay. I'm interested. I don't know what this is, but I'm interested.
We're going to be doing Drinking Quest later on, probably in August.
Oh, the game Drinking Quest.
Game.
Okay.
Giving away a copy with the author creator, but that's not what we're here to talk about.
I played that once. Yes.
Shit. No more free shit for Jen. You can't win anything anyway, Jen.
No. Yeah, that's true.
And no, food. We're not giving anything away except for our love for our audience, which is
who is this guy, Courtney Campbell, that we haven't seen in a while, and what is he doing here? And for those of you that don't know Courtney, he has been a frequent guest on the show. His Kickstarter, we have him on to always promote his Kickstarter because his Kickstarters come out on time. They're always really good. I use many of them at the table. Downtime and Demence is one of them. Artifices, Deceptions, and Dilemmas. I got that. And then there's another one that I can't remember.
Well, it's OD&D. Bestial encounters created by monsters. It's the Negative Space D&D trilogy.
And then these are great. I use them at the table. I have a nice little soft cover that I keep there. They're full of charts and tables and all kinds of things you can roll for encounters. They're all interesting because Courtney is a very creative dude. He's weird, but we like weird at this show. We love weird. As a matter of fact, we celebrate weird. Yes, and so his stuff is great. It really is. And so like I said, I can speak from experience. I personally use his stuff. I like it. And the great thing is the price is right on drive-through too. It's really cheap. I just checked to see what the price was, and I'm looking here, and it's like $9.90. Everything's on sale. Everything that you have is on sale. So this is the time to get in on some of Courtney's stuff if you want to.
Sinless is a premium price product, right? Because it's like a 270-page technical manual in hardcover. But the Kickstarter has a slightly more affordable package. So if you're looking to get into Sinless, that's the place to do it there.
So this is last year, the last time we had Courtney on, he was promoting his. How did you put this game, Courtney? What did
it is a cyber sorcery tabletop RPG.
Cyber sorcery tabletop RPG. If that sounds familiar, we're not going to say what that might be like, but it
is important to recognize that this is, an homage. I got those books when I was in my 20s, and I opened them up, and they never gave me the experience that I wished they did. And that has become less true as time has gone on. And so I decided, I wrote all these books, these viral best-selling books about game design and how tools for the table and everything. Am I just going to talk about other people's work forever? No, I had to do something myself, and this is that. And when I did the Kickstarter last year, it was unknown. It was like nobody knew. They were basing it on faith, right? And I fulfilled it, and the people that are getting it are happy. They say that this is something new, and it is. It's not it doesn't take everything through the lens of what the character's doing. They form a brand. They take over parts of the city. They affect the path of the game. They are the arbiters. It's based on utopian writing. Kim Robinson wrote an essay about it, and the idea is that dystopias are inherently unstable, and that utopias are unrealistic, and we've got what we've got to work with, and we have to do the work of making it better. And Sinless gives you the opportunity to answer how. You're the agent of change in the situation. And as a game designer, it was all designed with like cognitive load in mind. It's designed to be run in 90 to hour and 30-minute blocks, right? 90 to 2-hour blocks, 90-minute to 120-minute, hour and a half to 2-hour blocks, because that's when that's the time frame most people are running their games in. And there's this integration between the things you do during the sector phase and what you do during the operation phase, and people find it. I don't know. I have gotten a lot of positive feedback about it, and I think that people that are looking for something like that, a classic game, not a trad one, you don't have a plot, you have a sandbox, and everybody's playing to find out what happens, that this might be up their alley. You can scroll a little bit. We can look at some of the art.
Sure enough, sir.
And is this art that you did, or is this art that you hired? I'm
the primary artist.
Okay.
I have a degree in oil painting, line drawing from the University of Arkansas. I have hired Jay Shields. If you guys don't.
Oh yeah. We know James. Yes, he's a special guest in North Texas.
I mean, his work is not. Keep trolling. There's a bunch. It's just art and art and art. Like there's people playing. His work is so good. So yeah. I absolutely had him do it. And then Odd Tony from Odd Gob Games is another phenomenal artist. I had him do some of the things, but all this illustration you're looking at, this is all me. Like the layout, the design, the cards. I'm not a layout guy. I did the best I can. I'm a game designer and then a writer and then an artist. So the game is better than the art. So if you like the art, dig in. That's James right there. That's his work. It's so good, isn't it? So good.
Yeah, he's amazing.
I love it. So distinctive.
Yeah, and and he can do science fiction. He can do fantasy. He can do modern.
Does everything.
He's not stuck in one genre.
I wanted that. This is me again. I wanted that the aesthetic from White Mountain, the ship crash. What am I thinking of?
S3,
the
Expedition
S3,
to Barrier Peaks.
Barrier Peaks. I wanted that kind of aesthetic from
Courtney. This artwork's amazing. This is good stuff.
This is me. Yeah, I did all this.
Really,
it took me like 8 months posting things and getting feedback on the Discord. There's 120 of those assets, by the way.
Wow.
So that's like 3 of 120, and they're all posted in the update. I think it's absurd to have an action espionage spy game that doesn't have mechanics for having a car chase and the possibility of what happens when you lose one. Like, this is a completely integrated game. You're not going to be like, well, how do I, or what do I need to do? We did it. And it's very, like we say, it's descriptive, not prescriptive. It doesn't tell you what to do, but it gives you tools so that you know how to do things without needing to, do a bunch of reference. We have all the information the player needs at the table and considered like the cognitive overload of how much stuff needs to be done. And when I say 90 minutes to 120 minutes, I mean, that's all play. Like, we're also working on an automated mission generator and a character creator online. Those are both semi-functional right now. We've got somebody making a Foundry module, and we're aware of the situation with Brazil, and we're working on a D20 module and the possibility for them to get some books down there. This is a real thing. It's super awesome. It's the best thing I've ever done.
I love the dog.
So how did last year was the Sinless Kickstarter? It did well. I mean, how did
800 backers, $22,000. And we are sitting right now, I think, at 197 backers with $4,500. But it's, it's 2 weeks left.
Right.
So I'm doing press right now. So we'll see where that ends. 194, 200.
194.
So, and what's key for me here is how many people are getting on board so that I know that this is doable. Like, it's not just a pipe dream. And we're getting a lot of onboarding new backers. And so this is a great time to jump on, to be a part of it. It's exciting. We're running games on the Discord. And it's just a lot, guys. There's a form fillable PDF character sheet, like all the things are being done. I'm not a corporation. That's what that says.
Yeah.
It's just me. I would love to have, I think the, normal writing teams on big books like this are in excess of 15 people. I can't imagine what I would do.
Well, you're not a megacorp. There's no megacorps here.
No. This is definitely an idiosyncratic piece of outsider art. I mean, I'm self-publishing, right? That's what this is. So it works. It works really well. People like it, and if you can you click on the updates there? If you look at the updates, all the asset cards are in one of the updates, I think.
Oh, okay. Hold
on. Yeah. That's all of them.
Wow.
Yeah. Or that's the last 4 that I hadn't shown. But yeah, you can see. And if you're looking at the assets, you're seeing their stuff. Like you use them during the operations and they change the situation. Bubbles is actually a bomb in like the game sense, in that once she's drawn, she automatically attaches herself to your brand, right? And inhibits your, like, it's a game, like it's good. And you can see that they encourage non-traditional approaches. Like in one of the play tests, they went through the entire thing without combat because there are always other ways to solve problems. You could do some of these might be considered satire if you're
I'm
familiar.
sensing a Greatest American Hero vibe. I'm just going to throw that out there.
That's not inaccurate. I have watched all of Greatest American Hero.
Liskin.
I mean, I'm a child of the late 70s and early 80s. And so the aesthetic for this has definitely been geared towards 77 through 84.
I can see that.
I hope I'm catching whiffs of Hardwired, right? that's what I
stuff like that. I don't know. I made the best product I could. We did playtesting. We edited it. I did all this art. It's super fun to play at the table. I don't know what else I can do.
So the new Kickstarter, is this compatible with Sinless, obviously? Or
this is okay. So what this is a quick start setting. It's what you need to take a group of people who have never heard of Sinless. You hand them the 6 quick start sheets, and in 15 minutes, you're ready to play.
Okay,
that's
good.
What this is.
Good deal.
And it provides, there's so much, like, this is not haphazard. There's an underlying mathematical system. You know, I'm a game designer. Mm-hmm. There's design considerations. And so the core rule book, which is a reference, is not the place for that. So I think Sinless is an opportunity for me to provide that insight. Like all of the gear for the guns right now is just in images. They're individual, unique items. But I'll provide some insight on how those guns are built and what the considerations are for people who want to design their own, and provide some blank forms. So in addition to providing the setting and getting a current group up and running, you know, the beginning adventure is there are 12 billionaires trapped in a city under siege. What are you going to do about it? Like, they are all there for the release of the mythical sigil chip, which claims to bring magic to ordinary people. Pro tip, it doesn't work out that way. So they can do what they want. I don't know what happens. Do they help them escape? Do they bargain with the dragon? Do they bargain with Dagon? Do they bargain with the 12 billionaires? Like, do they stay and protect the people in the city? Do they flee and you make it like a Fandelver and then you do a real campaign? I don't know. It's up to you.
So it's totally wide. So it's wide open sandbox.
It's not, you know, it is a sandbox. And I want to be clear that, like, I'm a game designer, so we approach those problems with sandboxes. You know, the players are having them trouble getting involved when they own part of the map and somebody robs one of their banks. It's amazing how invested they are in that, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's designed to be a sandbox, but to give them more goals than they have time to accomplish, which creates, as I'm sure you all know, a lot of investment and a lot of interesting campaigns. It's pretty good, I hope. Yeah.
Well, full disclosure, I am not a big cyberpunk sorcery guy, but based on the quality of your other products, which I own, I think this looks amazing, and all your stuff is very. I mean, all your stuff. What I like about it is, Courtney, I can use it. I've used everything that you have. It's all usable. It's not something you get and you go, "Oh, this is really cool," and you put it on a shelf, and then you never really, you know, it just looks pretty on the shelf. You know, there's a lot of Kickstarters like that, right? They come out and you back them and you get it, and it looks great, and you flip through the book, and then you put it on the shelf, and then it never gets played or used.
Yes. The first of all, this is not a product I'm making to harvest revenue from my media audience. This is the game I'm playing. And so the rules were designed around how to make it play at the table, right? How to make sure that choices are interesting, that it works. Mm-hmm. So you'll find that you'll open it up and you'll immediately get ideas for campaigns and excited about, you know, you can see ways they can go, and it provides all those tools for you, and people have just been taking it and going nuts. All kinds of, like, there's a forum if you'd like to, access the Sinless forum. We have a forum up. You can Google it, just type Sinless forum. I'm pretty sure the link is like www.sinlessrpg.com. Yeah.
And you said you got a Discord too, right? You got a Discord.
We do. I have my Discord, and I can give links for that whenever you guys want.
Yeah, go. Yeah, Eric can post that up there too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hold on, I found a Sinless forum. So I will put that up.
Yeah. So you can see that on the forum, people are already running with the things, and I'm giving feedback. You know, like you can see in some of the feedback that people are trying to overcomplicate things. I wish Subversion the best, but I don't know who looked at certain popular cyber sorcery TTRPGs and said that looks like it needs more rules.
No.
Sinless has.
Oh God!
Sinless
Stabbed in the heart.
I mean, no, Pathfinder is I play Pathfinder. Pathfinder. But that isn't what I was going for here.
If you look behind me, all of these books are the only books you need to play Pathfinder. There's only 150.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love it. I love Pathfinder. I've played a lot of Pathfinder from levels 1 to 7.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah,
that was great.
You know, but I mean, I love all the role-playing games. I'm not trying to knock somebody else. This isn't for everybody, right? Like, it is a sandbox. If you come in and you've got a plot you want players to follow, the rules will undermine that, right? Like, it's for people who want to sit down and play to find out what happens and adapt to emergent situations and sometimes possibly deal with failure. But for the people who want that, I think it's the best product on the market for
I love it. I love it just because it sounds like this marvelous game of cyberpunk when worlds collide. You know, that 4 different people can come together and just I'm going to use the analogy of opening the box and just running with it. You know, looking through this and reading through the Kickstarter and taking all of this in. I think one of the things that I'm hearing very clearly from you, Courtney, is there's a certain level of rule of cool that lets eschew endless amounts of rule.
It is very clear. I try not to obfuscate anything. If you look at the successes table, 4 successes is like jumping off a building, saving a woman and a cat, falling through the air and kicking a piece of debris that flies into another helicopter and causes it to crash. Like it is designed to model espionage, spy, and action films, right? With the players as the protagonists, the ones who make the choice, right? Like, the choices are always written for us, but the choices don't always represent like our feelings or how we would approach situations. And this is basically, you know, you have a ton of freedom about what you choose to do, and there's no morality mechanics. Like, if you want to invade people's dreams to advertise to them to gain influence in the sector, well, that's just a choice you're going to have to live with, you know.
I'm so horny to run a cyberpunk version of John Woo's Hard Boiled using this, that I think it would just be fabulous. I would think it would just be absolutely fabulous.
There are Car Wars in the game. Car Wars is Thunder Road, for anybody who remembers board games from the 80s, is one of my huge inspirations. There's no action movie, and I'm a huge car movie fan. Ronin, Baby Driver was great. Like, I love, yes. I watch them over and over and over. The car race films, Fast and the Furious, all of them.
To Live and Die in LA. Great chasing. Phenomenal chasing.
French Connection. I list them in the Kickstarter as my inspirations, but it's not a separate game. The core game mechanics are integrated with the chase mechanics. You're still taking actions in a round as you escape, but there's a method to handle escaping in a cyberpunk city, and like conclusions for what if you fail to escape. Like, there's an outcome for that. It doesn't end things. It creates an emergent story where you don't know the outcome, and so it's fun.
I'm sold.
I'm playing catch up right now on the
comments. That's a lot, right?
So with about just a smidge over 2 weeks to go, you're roughly at about half the number of the original Sinless.
No. I had 800.
Was it 800? I'm sorry.
800.
My bad.
Yeah. We did a $22,000 Kickstarter.
And so, are you seeing that progressive ramp up? Is it just you're adding sort of X number a day? Are you seeing the progression?
Well, I mean, if you're asking about the business stuff, I think that a vast majority of people who are already playing Sinless back this, obviously, because they want more Sinless content.
Sure.
And the price of entry into this is much lower. So it's not going to raise as much money, even with the same amount of backers, because the digital is $10, $20 after release, and the print is $19, $29.99 after release, right?
Gotcha.
So you get yourself a discount if you buy in now, but it will be available probably, I say December, but I'm shooting for October.
Sure.
And some people have mentioned that seems a little tight, but here's the thing. I'm the game designer and the writer and the illustrator and the layout guy. So when it goes from one person to the other, there's not like a wait.
You don't have to yell over cube farms.
Yeah. So I mean, there's elements of efficiency there, but again, it's a lot of different jobs, which is why things aren't happening faster. And you have to make sacrifices. Like, I guarantee, I would love to be able to hire a layout artist, but I can't afford to. I mean, like if that wasn't clear, that's the problem. Is that it doesn't generate enough money to do.
Well, I tell you what's interesting with Courtney. What I love is that. So yeah, you and you're admitting, you're doing everything yourself, and that's going to maybe slow things down. That puts you on a budget. But you know what you're not doing, Courtney? You're not using AI art because you're like, well, I just can't afford artists, darn it. So I'm just going to have to use AI art. And I hear that excuse all the time. Yeah,
I am an artist.
But you're paying for art also. But you're also paying for art.
It does. Again, when we were talking about social media just being people arguing about each other about things that are completely made up, like the AI argument is absurd. It has nothing to. We covered this in school. Like we had a master's in materials class before we graduated, and they're like, camera didn't kill art. A camera doesn't know what looks good in an image. And maybe AI will be able to copy that and someday even copy it with intent. And, I see a future. I don't know that I want to wait for artists to design the materials that the holodeck is going to generate, right? Like we are changing phases of humanity, but I don't use AI art because it's not really producing art. Like there's rules and intent behind art right now, and there may be a day someday when AI can do that, but that day is not today. I mean, people, I had somebody accuse me of using AI art today. Like it's just that I post things in progress on my blog. I have an art degree. I painted a mural in my college. I've got 30 years of work available. It's never going to be enough for some people. But
what gets me, Courtney, is
it doesn't look good. Like when somebody puts AI
right.
art on the thing, it looks like, I didn't know what to do here. I'll just make some noise. Right?
Well, what I don't like about the whole fight is that people use it as a gotcha now. It's this gigantic gotcha. It's like now when everybody posts their art and says, hey, I did this thing, they immediately get accused of using AI art because there's this huge gotcha and there's this huge stigma around it. But the thing is,
I don't tolerate it.
I don't understand that. I don't get it. It's just meanness, human meanness, human evil.
I'm explicitly anti-fascist, right? And it's just a repeat of people seeking to create degeneracy in art. Which art is valid and which art is not? Here's the thing: I'm not publishing AI art. I don't think that's a good idea. But if somebody publishes AI art, even though my art is the art that was harvested to create the AI art model, I'm not worried about it because it can't replicate me. And maybe it will someday. And you can examine that day in Sinless if you like, but that isn't today. So like, it's just, if you're going around purity testing artists, the working artists that you're claiming to protect, you have to think, well, is the best way to do that by attacking somebody without founding? Like, I don't know.
And I think that's a great point. When I see most of the AI art I see, let's call it, there's the obvious bad AI art, right? Where somebody has 9 fingers or, blah, 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 blah. But then let's say on the other side of the scale, there's the good AI art. And you can define that how you want, but I subscribe to a few people on Instagram who are AI artists, and everything that they produce looks like something that's just been turned up. It's like when you listen to the radio and you have that one, you listen to the radio in your car and it's at a volume level you're comfortable with. And then that little shitbox Sentra comes next to you and they've got the volume cranked up to about 27 and they added a gigantic subwoofer that's causing the entire back of their car to shake. And that's what it strikes me as. It's art that's just turned up to about 14 or 15 because it's too much. It's too much going on. There's way too much frenetic activity. When I see that, I think to myself, okay,
there's no room for
we talk about so many artists on this show, and we talk about great art and what makes great art and how it can be evocative. We talk about tepid art. We talk about how it's just limp and it does not inspire you. It's the fill in the dots of the art world.
Okay, so my cover is kind of a pun. Like, yes. It's very popular to put 3 heroes on the cover, 1 magic, 1 fighter, 1 rogue. Like, you'll never see a book of mine with 3 people on the cover. I'm an expressionist as an artist traditionally. Obviously, I do a little bit of line drawing and stuff, but I really like expressionism. And, on the cover, there's a person, but it's the same person as body horror. Like, I have my own, I've had art shows before. I'm an artist. I have my own thesis and ideas, and this is what I'm producing. Like, I don't know that AI isn't involved. It's not AI generated. I drew all these pictures with my hand. I painted all these cover arts with my thing. James Shields did that logo and the text beneath it. I people want to, whatever. I don't know. Attacking an artist doesn't seem like the best way to protect him.
But I think you have to look at the people doing the attacking, right? And they're always going to be out
let's say somebody does. They generate AI art. They produce a product. It's filled with AI art. That's fine. It's not interesting to me, right? It's just it's not like appealing to me. And if it's appealing to somebody, more power to them. I'm not here to pass judgment on what other people are doing. I'm here to make a game I want to play at a table. And like, right. I get it. People are into it. They're into whatever. It doesn't have anything to do with me.
Right. Dodge. What else you got?
Well, people, when I talked to James at North Texas this year, we were talking about this, and even James has been accused of doing AI art, which is ludicrous. If you look at his gigantic mountain of work he's done over the years, but I think now it's just a reflexive thing. When you see good art, you just if you're an asshole and you're on the internet, you just say, "Oh, look, this is more AI art," or some AI art guy, because you want attention. It's all about attention. Me. Look at me. I'm the guy that found this guy that is doing AI art. I mean, look, it's garbage. And I agree with you, Courtney. There's no point for the divisiveness of this, and if you want to do AI art, you do AI art. I mean, that's,
just don't lie about it.
Yeah, if you're an artist, I mean, artists might have a beef with that, but if you're just Joe Schmo, why do you have it? That's not your problem. I mean, just move on to what you like, and just do what you like, buy what you like, and let your pocketbook make the difference.
You can look at the art for the chase scenes. You can see I was inspired by Akira, screen grabs from Akira. Like, I'm working from reference, like I took the French Connection and found a frame I liked and paused it and was inspired by it. And that's, there's all kinds of, these are not new issues for artists, right? Like, it's just the same as it always been. But there's a lot of people who are, I don't know, fear-mongered or confused or don't understand what's happening or don't read the section in the fact where I say none of this art is AI generated. I drew it.
I don't think they care, Courtney. I don't think that's the point. I think when you do a gotcha, I don't think it's about caring if it is or not. I think it's just about the gotcha. But by the way,
is that a compliment? Like, is it? Are they saying that? I don't know. Is it an attack? Do they not like my art? Like, can you make an AI do what I did? I don't think I can make an AI produce images like these. So maybe you can. I don't know.
So when you were playtesting the rules for the quick start, when did you have an aha moment where everything just clicked and it was perfect? Was there one particular thing? Was it a series of things? But where did you were like, okay, it's cooked. It's done. This is perfect.
We did the rules were play tested for, like a year and a half before we started the Kickstarter or whatever, from being designed to doing whatever. This is the expansion module. Like, so the playtesting for this already had the game in the thing, but seeing for me, it's every time we run a game, they won't stop talking about what they're going to do in their next sector phases. Like, it's a ticket to ride style design. You get a limited number of options based on the size of your brand for things you want to do. And there are always more options than you have available, right? And so what they'll do is they'll get in Discord, they'll plan back and forth on how they're going to upgrade things and what actions they're going to take, and then they take the next operation, and their priorities are all different. So they have to scrap and redo all that work, but it's just the sheer, like, there's so many different ways you can approach it. It's so flexible. You really get to decide how you'd like to infiltrate or take over a city or protect the sector or like help the disenfranchised or solve a difficult problem. That I think I knew it was something good is when they kept on just talking about their options long after the game ended throughout the week.
That's definitely a good sign.
I thought so.
Yeah, I have a Facebook page for my D&D group, and we're running Dwaro Deep, and I knew I had them hooked when they're making post, because they post back and forth, and sometimes they write game descriptions as their character. I give extra experience points if they write up a game description as a character. And I knew I had them hooked when they were basically just going back and forth. And okay, here's where, like you said, Courtney, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this. We're going to form we're going to take over this wizard's tower. We're going to turn that into our base in the mountains. We're going to do that. So I had just stood back. I just stood back and say, hey, you guys just go after it. And they were absolutely into it at that point.
This is like I said, I'm a game designer first. I think that people who've looked through my books can see that. And like I grew up when we were a kid, we had the TV downstairs with the Atari and the ColecoVision hooked up to it. And my parents had a bookshelf, like floor to ceiling, with just board games. And so this is inspired by like Oil King and Stop Thief and Sorcery and Swords, which was like a Avalon Hill chit-based hex fantasy game. And like the operation phase is very concrete. You don't have to worry about lying to your players. There are effectively 24 pieces of information, and they use their skills and or assets to acquire as many of those pieces of information as possible, letting them know the scope of the operation, the job, that they got hired to do. And then they can choose how to approach it from that. So there's no like misdirecting people. And that's straight from Stop Thief, which was like an old, you move your guy around and you're a detective and there's a little computer that knows where the thief is and you tell it where you are and it lets you know if you see him or what clues are there. Clue is an inspiration for it. You're putting together pieces of information. And then, because the rules are understandable, that your characters know what's possible and what you can do. And like, there's a lot of support for the GM in regards to what jobs cost and what happens if somebody gets targeted for assassination. It's assumed that you're going to play these games and have the situations that happen in these games come up and not just leave you hanging. Like you'll find tools there to help manage and resolve those things, but not tools that say you have to do it a certain way, but tools that handle whatever your players end up deciding to do.
That's great.
Tell me about the Frenchman in the room just saying that.
What?
Ben here.
Ben is a huge
Benoit.
Benoit is a huge fan.
Oh, Ben.
He's been doing our playtesting with us. I love him. It's super important. We are about as two different kinds of people as there can be. And we've always respected each other's technical skills. So it's so nice to be able to spend some time with him on this project.
Benoit is the life-saving paddles that got that Kickstarter across the goal.
Was he?
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's no question.
He has been exceedingly helpful. That dog, he christened him Winston Napoleon, and he's gonna, I'm sure, bring some adventures. He's already working on Sinless stuff. Like I'm gonna have a license, hopefully by the end of the year.
Oh, good. I was going to ask you about that. Good deal.
Yeah, no, I don't want to. This
Makes
is
sense.
not. I'm not a corporation. I'm not trying to maximize profit. You can publish stuff for Sinless. It's free. I am gonna have to. There's a lot of bad actors out there, so I do want to be able to make sure that nobody is producing any pro-genocide, pro-hate content, right? So I'm working out the best way to do that. I know that it's not super popular with everybody, but I'm just not going to have my creative endeavors associated with any of that stuff. So we're working out the terms of the license, but right now we're really focused on completing the Billionaire Bounty Kickstarter so that we can do something responsible with that. But it won't have a fee. Like you can just publish stuff for Sinless and put the logo on it and say, this is a Sinless thing. I don't want to charge anybody. I want people to play my game, make stuff for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's Courtney. I've been following your stuff since way back in the days of blogging when
2006.
Probably 2007. I think when I started finding blogs and going, oh, this is interesting. I can read about gaming when I have no time to actually game because I was away for a portion, and there were very few bloggers from that time that have moved their skill set to producing material. I'm going to say for profit, but to actually,
I don't begrudge anybody profit. Yeah. I think people should make profit from their labor. I just don't think that maximizing it is a goal.
No, but I think you, Joe Block, Rob Conley. You are like the core blogs that I followed that made that transition.
Yeah, I basically back everything Rob makes, by the way. His work is phenomenal. If you guys are looking for other good old school creators.
Yeah, Rob's work is insane. And I get sneak peeks of it all the time because I game with Rob.
It's good stuff.
Oh my God, it is good stuff.
I'm not sure how long till it's out. It might be out now, but is How to Build a Sandbox stuff.
It's out. It is
I'm enjoying it a lot.
One drive through.
I finally got it. I'm super happy about it.
Yeah, no, Rob does great work. So I consider myself very blessed that I know I am not a huge creative. I get my little bits of creativity, but I am blessed to know a lot of really talented, skilled creators, and you're all an inspiration. I mean, I just do this damn channel. I
know Jim was asking me earlier about like the success or whatever, but like there's so much high quality stuff out there. Like I wish I could that's funny. I wish I could give Ben a hard time for Knave 2, but Knave 2 is fantastic. Like everything everybody is making is really good. Shadow Dark is great. Like it is a golden age of truly wonderful playable games. So the fact that I'm getting any attention at all is humbling. Like I feel really honored that people find my game worthy of their attention, and I hope to respect their time and intelligence when I make things for it. But don't feel bad if it's not in your wheelhouse, because everything else is also very good, right? Like you want to get something done by Luca or Raggy, or like it's all just great stuff. There's so much good stuff out there. I was really happy. It's really pleasant.
Well, and I think you nailed it. I think what we have seen in the last 30 years. No, I'll actually make it a little shorter. We went through a tidal wave of self-publishing in PDF form about 10, 15 years ago, and
led by Monty Cook.
And it's good. And what I always liken it to, it was sort of like when Kill Dr. Lucky, these very cheap ass games opened up a window into, it doesn't have to have a lot of art, it doesn't have to have a lot of anything, as long as it's playable, and people were like, oh, cheap ass games, but he sold a lot of them. And we've come through the PDF era of RPGs, where I always compare it to the black and white comic book boom and bust. We had a lot of stuff that hit the market. A lot of it was crap. People were like, I sold 12. That was last year. That you sold 12 for an entire year. And that includes your family buying it. And what we've seen now is we've actually seen a suite of tools that have evolved, where just exactly what you said, Courtney, right? You're a game designer first, and then all those other hats that you're taking off and on, right? But we can look at some of the stuff that's come about in the last 5-6 years, maybe the last decade, where if I picked up a copy of any of the things that we've mentioned in the last 5 or 6 minutes, and I took them back 10 years in time, people would believe that they were the product of large organizations, not 2 or 3 or 1 creator toiling away and making this craft and creating this thing that they love and knocking it all together. I think you're absolutely right. We are in a golden age of RPGs. We're in a golden age of miniatures. We're in a golden age of terrain. As a miniatures guy, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe the variety of terrain that's available to me.
I'm sad about Otherworlds, by the way. That just broke my heart. That's the only line I really collect and paint. So I'm sad to see them close their doors.
By the way, Jim, thanks for bringing up the black and white comic boom and bust, and that I always get to remember that I did own an issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1, which I bought during the boom, and then I was very happy several years later to sell for $300, and thought, thumbs up, I've made a bank on that.
Ouch.
And I just one sold for $250,000.
That's what I thought. I knew it was over 200K.
Yeah. Yeah, and come on,
Well,
right? We all have
appreciate
those
you.
stories.
Look,
we all
look,
have
Thank
those
you for bringing that up. I just wasn't thinking about that today. And
Think
you
about
brought
what
it
you
up.
saved
Thank
yourself in tax. Like you would have had
There
to
you go.
pay
Yeah, there we go. There's a-
$100,000.
Oh,
Now you only had to
there's a
pay
silver
3.
lining. Yeah, it's a silver lining. I didn't think about
That's
that.
right. But
I'm gonna go cry some more over here in the corner.
But I love that our market, which expanded exponentially with 5th edition D&D, we've got all these people who've come in to discover role-playing games, and for good or bad, the pandemic has also, I hate to say helped, but the pandemic opened a door to people collaboratively playing online. And now, as they have grown tired of 5th edition, as they have begun looking for other things, as they're hungry for other experiences, one of the things that I've been doing over the last week or so is I've been watching all of Clint Eastwood's Man with No Name movies. And I'm actually spending a week watching each one like bits and pieces. I watch the whole thing on Sunday, and then I go back and I watch bits and pieces for the rest of the week, and then Friday or Saturday night I watch it again. And the reason I'm doing that is because I watched them when I was younger, but I didn't quite appreciate them for what they were. And I'm trying to watch them in the order you should watch them, which is the opposite of the chronological order that they were filmed in. And when you do that, like all these little bits and pieces come together and so on and so forth. And I really think that's where we are right now. Like there are a lot of jokes in Sinless in what we pulled up on the campaign page. And I am old enough, Eric is old enough, Mike's old enough, we'll get all the jokes, right?
Yeah.
We'll get all the jokes. And it will hurt us, right? But there are people who are 20-some years old who are going to pick up Sinless and be like, what is this? And they're not going to get all the jokes. And then 10 years from now, 15 years from now, they're going to be like, what's this movie on late night cable? You're the boss of New York. You're an A number 1. Holy shit, that snake serpent I got, right? And all the light bulbs will come on.
I want to be that's part of the design aesthetic too. You're asking a lot of like an Agonarch, a person running a game to just generate and be all these different people. And a lot of people are turned off by like the hokiness of like, oh, well, I recognize that's Dr. Mindbender from G.I. Joe, or Kestrel is clearly Hawk. Right, accurate intel is half the battle. But like the point is that if you just run it straight, then I've provided you instant characterization. You now know everything you need to know about this person because you've seen G.I. Joe, right? And so you can just play them without needing to do a lot of research or overhead. Sure. They're designed as hooks, and if you play it straight, and it's like the best way. I played Hackmaster for years. And people are like, oh, it's got all these funny monsters. Look, when you are absorbed and begin dying to a gummy golem, I don't care how funny you think it is, your fighter's dying. Like if you just play it straight, it leads to great gameplay. And so I'm not afraid of that. And again, that may not be something people like, right? They may not want to run across a pastiche of, some Vin Diesel character in their RPG. That's fine. Like I get it, but that's a tool. It's a tool to make things easier for you rather than just having a bunch of nameless, sort of unknowable people that you constantly have to generate personalities for. And since it's supposed to be kind of an action movie, you would expect to run into action movie type people in it. So I think it's very thematically appropriate too. But mileage may vary on that. I get it. It's not for everybody, right?
That's all right. Some people will get the joke, some people never will.
Just hearing Courtney talk and hearing Jim talk, Eric, I'm proposing, and as much as Glenn and I talk movies, we like to heist the Friday night show sometimes and talk movies, and Eric's just rolling his eyes over there. The four of us, me, you two, and me and Glenn, we just need to have a movie night and just do movies. Eric, come on. We
need to do a Tavern riff tracks, right? Where we watch a movie, but we record the audio track of the four of us talking about the movie as we're watching.
They script that, right? They script that.
No, I don't need to script it. I can.
No, we wouldn't have to script it, Courtney.
You wouldn't have anybody watch it either.
No. Hey, you'd be surprised. We get Eric. Do we get people saying, "Oh, Glenn and Mike are going to talk movies. This is awesome," and or do they go, "Oh God, Glenn and Mike are going to talk movies.
No. Everybody looks forward to that shit. And I say shit and with all affection, Mike. All affection.
I know. Oh, I know. We just like it because Glenn and I we're movie aficionados, and we can talk about any genre. We're sitting there one night giving our 20 best westerns, and Eric's he's looking at the ratings of his show, go like this. Yeah,
I'm a student of film. Like I took film study and film theory in college. Like I like film. I've seen thousands of films. It's definitely a component to what drives my design, right?
Absolutely.
Movies, even bad movies.
Well, I was going to say Sinless is a very cinematic look to it. So yeah, you could absolutely tell that's a part of the. It's part of the whole genre. You got the whole genre in there. By the way, I was going to say my dissertation in college was a Faulkner Sanctuary as a noir fiction, not a noir movie, but it was a noir fiction, which it is. It's absolute noir fiction. Yeah, Faulkner's Sanctuary book. Yeah, where all the good people die and all the bad people end up at the end. It's very, very much a noir.
Exceptionally witty. Yeah.
I'm going to borrow the joke and say that my dissertation was on Dom DeLuise as the reoccurring Christ figure in Cannonball Run 2.
I mean,
it works. Look, I went to school with a girl whose dissertation was on Fatal Attraction, the post feminist something or another on Fatal Attraction, and I read her dissertation because I thought it sounded interesting. And
was it The Great Escape where he ate the eggs?
That was Cool Hand Luke.
Cool Hand Luke. That movie is straight up a Christ. They were making
my boy can eat 50 eggs. Oh yeah, I love that line. Yes.
I like movies, so you'll see movie references in Sinless. Like obviously Johnny Mnemonic is a big one. And like in the book, there's somebody who's saying something, and then somebody else is like, "Aren't you a dolphin?" And he's like, "This is why I don't come around here." And then nerve attenuation syndrome is one of the reasons why people aren't into VR more. And I think the quote was, "They cooked up the disease to sell us the cure." Like I wanted to honor these things, I wanted to, because they're cyberpunk. Like I get it, it's not for everybody, it's kind of weird, but that's what the cyber genre is. And it's difficult. I wanted to say this, it's difficult to do modern cyberpunk because we live in a cyberpunk society.
Sure,
your data is harvested, they're identifying people via face scans, your rights are at risk, corruption is legal in America. Like it's just the way things are. And so how do you write a cyberpunk game? Well, like we're not done. We're in the process of that change, right? And we've got to take responsibility and make a better world, just like we are doing and have been doing. Like for the people that think nobody's at the wheel, very intelligent, very thoughtful, very deliberate, very motivated people are at the wheel and trying to make things work. I don't know. I follow a lot of law and criminal cases, and there are a lot of intelligent people thinking about the ramifications of their choices. And I have a lot of faith that things will be fine, but there's some work to get there. And so I built a game about a chaotic environment that takes some work to make it the kind of place you'd like to be. I think that's how you do it. It may not be to everybody's taste, but it was certainly the way I approached it.
And it doesn't have to be to everybody's taste, right? I think that's the
making a game for me. Yes.
Really,
this is not all things to all people. But if you think the idea of taking over resources in a cyberpunk city and like rescuing uplifts and running jobs on corporations and deciding what to do with 12 irresponsible billionaires, if that sounds up your alley, then Sinless is for you, for sure.
I have the power of who lives and who dies. Yay!
Folks, by the way, just if you haven't figured it out yet, there's a link on the bottom of the screen that will take you to the Billionaire Bounty Kickstarter. Tenkar's there's tavern.games/bounty. I've put the link in the chat. Just letting you all know what that link on the bottom of the screen means. It's not just there for decoration.
I'll tell you why I feel good about the Kickstarter is that I think I've gotten 7 backers from click-through, like just from Kickstarter showing the image.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and 7 at 15 days in before the algorithm starts promoting the rapid. I think that. Can you imagine how many times have you been on Kickstarter and you click something just because it showed it to you?
Oh yeah.
Like I've gotten 7 backers who did that. I feel really good about it. I know that some people, I don't care. That's already a success. I'm already successful. I don't know what to tell people. That's amazing. I think it's amazing that people think it's worth their time, and I just want to make sure that I respect that.
Cool. And Benoit is definitely.
Yeah, Ben's plays. He's super fun. I love him. He's great.
Well, and I think you hit a good point, right? Which is going back to your comment about it's a golden age, right? Mm-hmm. We're at the point where a very famous just screw it. We can think about Shadowrun when Shadowrun came out, and Shadowrun was very different from Cyberpunk, which had been out. Cyberpunk had been out before Shadowrun, but Shadowrun decided to do something a little bit different, and decided to take the Cyberpunk and throw in some elements of fantasy and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. But it's not for everybody, right? It's not for everybody, and what
some people recoil at the idea of fantasy in a sense. It was deliberate. Like sci-fi examines current social issues in a future context, and fantasy examines the psychological ramifications thereof. The name of the game is Sinless. One of the AIs are named Metatron, Grendel, and Tenchi. I know what I'm doing. Like you're absolutely right. Like that is the psychological and the fantasy elements are specifically there for their usually stated purpose. And again, dragons represent greed. There's a dragon in the Billionaire bounty module. Like these things are like, I agree. Yes, correct. It's not for everybody, but it was there deliberate and for a purpose. I'm not just, I like this, I'm doing it. I could have gone straight Cyberpunk, no problem.
But you don't have to, right? Like, I think that's the thing. And the other is, again, we were sort of making a joke earlier about Pathfinder, right? That there's a rule for everything, right? I've stubbed my toe on a frog. We have a rule for that. Mm-hmm. But Shadowrun became, again, Shadowrun in all of its various iterations has become weighed down by both a setting and changes of ownership and availability and blah, 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 blah. And I think one of the things to talk about with Sinless is, these are quick start tools for Sinless, but Sinless gives you everything, like you nailed it really well when you said this is an hour and a half at the table, and you can walk away and you're going to spend the next week talking about what happened in the game. And it doesn't sound like a rules limiter, right? If anything, it sounds like the sky's the limit. Like, where do you want to go with this? What do you want to do with this? How do you want to approach this? And it's tough to find somebody. We all hear about games that have been play tested, but haven't.
No, we're playing the shit out of this. Like this, right. There's just active people that are playing this. And when people write about, like there's some people in Japan who love it. Like it's very popular in Japan, apparently. And every time they come back, they ask me questions. I get feedback from them on how they're finding the rules and talking about, what to expect. And some of that feedback is what's driving Billionaire Bounty. It's the information so that you know how to respond when certain things happen, or what to expect, or how to generate your own content. It's all the stuff that there's not room for in a reference, right? So if you're buying Sinless, I hope you pick up Billionaire Bounty. But it's also got onboarding for the campaign. Like if you're interested in trying it out, first of all, there's no cost. Like you could back the campaign, of course, but the thing is in preview up on DriveThruRPG up to page like 190. And if you come on the Discord, we can just give you a copy. Like I'm not trying to set up financial barriers. I want people to play the game. Right. Backing is a measure of supporting and letting me know how many rulebooks have sold, how many people are actively playing, and making sure that I can continue to become more financially stable, which is a little difficult in this day and age.
Well, and I think that's a great point, right? I think this is a point that a lot of creators just I want you to succeed. As a creator, I want you to succeed. I want you to be recognized for what you put together. I want you recognized for the effort that you put into it, the toil that goes with playtesting and corrections and tinkering and getting the engine under the hood to go the right way. I want all of that for you. But the other, and this is a reason why when we have people on and we talk to them, right? the other thing is that I want you to have material success because it makes the path of carrying your ideas forward easier. It's a lot harder to try to come up with the quick start rules if Sinless hadn't had the success that it did, but it did have success. And that takes some of the burden of, okay, like one of the conversations that's going on right now in RPG creator space is talking about Adobe licensing. And a lot of people are like, nope, I'm done. I'm moving to something else. And when you take that factor out, I'm going to buy a set of tools for $45 instead of paying Adobe $15, $20, whatever a month. When you've got success, the big thing is that it gives you some breathing room. It gives you a chance to say, okay, I can now tinker around. I can take some time to take this idea that I have and try to bring that to fruition in a way that having not had success would make this infinitely more difficult. And so I think that's one of the great things about having people on this show is that we can highlight you and we can talk about all of this to try to boost your numbers, to try to get to that.
It's a huge benefit. There's no question it's a huge benefit. I want to be clear here though. I know that a lot of people run Kickstarters and sell products and merch, and this is not me casting aspersions. I bear nobody any ill will for doing this. And I'm not saying people are doing it, but I know a lot of people will run Kickstarters and, well, you should back this because you like who I am. You want to support this or support this era of me or whatever else. And like, I'm not involved. You're not backing me. Like, this is I think I've produced a really good product. Like, I think people are backing this because they want it, not to support me emotionally or because like this is something that they're looking for and that they want. And I really want to get that message out. And I'm really not casting any aspersions. I think that, an influencer out there who's like, this is our merch, this is how you're going to help keep it. I think that's totally fine. But that isn't what this is. I want to be clear that this is a game that people are playing independent of me, that they're really excited about.
Well, and that's great. I mean, that's
you can give me money if you like me, but like really,
please give him money, right? Let's just be clear. Give him the money. Back the Kickstarter.
People who want it and get it, they're happy with what they got.
Right.
They're excited about it
because it does what it's supposed to do, and that's when I said what I said earlier about a cyberpunk version of one of my all-time favorite movies. Hardboiled is epic. It was John Woo's love letter to where he had come from before he went to Hollywood and then made things like Hard Target. But it was his last.
It's also good.
Yes,
don't knock Hard Target. Well, did you know there was a video game for Hardboiled?
Yes,
the PS3.
I lived through the dark times.
I have the Blu-ray game DVD Blu-ray thing for that Hard-Boiled thing. It's great.
And I took a date to the Replacement Killers, and that didn't go well. And, but I say that as a high compliment because I love the notion of a game where I can sort of tinker around, and in an hour and a half or 2 hours, I can drag them through the emotional turmoil that is Hardboiled, right? I think that's, and it lends itself to that genre.
I'm seeing these comments come up in the chat. I want to be really clear about the Shadowrun thing. Like, this is obviously the logo bears similarity because that's marketing. It's an homage. It's a way to let people know that what you're finding is fantasy and cyberpunk in this product, but it is not Shadowrun. It's classic regarding a sandbox. The DM, if they have a story they want to tell, it's not going to go well for them because the players have tools to approach things how they want, right? So it's not trad in the 2E sense or the Shadowrun sense. It's classic. It has an integrated domain system and less importance on individual characters and more importance on the brand as a whole. Like, I'm just communicating about me making the product I wished it was. I wouldn't want anybody to be confused because if what you like is Shadowrun, you may not like this, but it may be what you want that you're not getting from that. If that's, I just want to be clear here.
That makes sense.
If you look inside, you can see the inspiration, but you can also clearly tell it's not a copy.
Right. If you think you're getting a Shadowrun clone, you're not getting a Shadowrun clone. You're getting Courtney's love letter to the cyberpunk.
Yes,
slash
there are D6s, and
world.
there's priority character creation, and there's cybertectronic implants, and there's biogenetic editing, and there's Manon allowing people to perform magic. But when you look at it, it's not. It's a different thing, right?
Absolutely. Eric, do you have the? Are you going to post the link there in the chat to this?
I did earlier, but I will do it again. Hold on.
Why don't you do it again? So
I will do it again. Hold on.
We'll wrap up the first part of our show. Move on to the second part.
That's an hour, right? We're done. We're done glorifying my work here. Or whatever.
Yeah, but we're gonna keep glorifying it as long as you're on. Yeah. Don't worry.
Sure.
That art, the people who are coming at me, like the reason it took a year to write the book is because I had to do all these pieces of art. Mm-hmm. Like, it's so much work, guys. And like in the Discord, as I post each one as I complete them, and like I was getting to the point where I could do like 2 asset cards a day, but like it's just a ton of labor. I've been working like 14-hour. Like, people are like, well, how did you make that? Well, I worked 14-hour days for like a year. That's how I did it. It was a ton of work. I hope you enjoy my labor.
Well, that's what I love about promoting smaller creators, third-party creators, however you want to put it, OSR creators, is that most of the time these are labors of love. And believe me, unfortunately for my pocketbook, I've been involved in way too many labors of love over my life, including North Texas, the convention I put on that I've never been paid for 16 years. But we do it because it's just something, we've always wanted. Doug and I want to do it, and now Gary and I and David do it. And we just want to do it. It's great, and pretty much everything I've done in the creative endeavor, the basic expert modules with Tom Wilson, we don't get paid for any of this. This is just something
I've done the math. Nobody is getting rich. Nobody. You see, like these, take Mothership. Like, they had $1 million plus Kickstarter, but if you look at the number of people involved and shipping stuff from China and shipping costs to people, most Kickstarters are lucky if their creators get half a year or a year's salary out of it, even if it's wildly successful. And some have inverse problems where the more successful they are, the less money they make.
Absolutely.
And people took a risk with me, on this, but then DC 20 is doing $2 million or whatever their Kickstarter was, but they are also in that same position, right? Now they have to produce.
One of the first, we had Kelsey on the show last year. We need to get Kelsey on again. I'll have to talk to her. But one of the first things I asked her was, how does it feel to be a millionaire? Because she'd made $1.8 million on Shadowrun, and she was like, well,
on Shadow Dark.
Shadow
Dark. Yes, thank you. Courtney and I are both like, that's not the right word.
No.
Shadow Dark. Kelsey will never see this. I don't have to worry.
Did you know Tops is litigious? Tops, the company that owns Catalyst.
Oh yeah.
They like to sue people. So let's be very clear.
Yeah, we've been sued before. Yeah, we don't care about those guys. We've been through that, but no, that she's not a, I was joking with her, obviously joking with her, but it's not like, oh, I've made $1 million. Now I'm going to go to eat my caviar with my French poodle as I.
How many people backed her budget? 20,000. So she's going to have to pay like 400,000 in shipping. Like, I don't like it.
There you go. I mean,
it's taxes on $1.8 million is wait for it, $900,000.
Well, you're not even getting
$1.3 million,
and you're not even getting $1.8 million to begin with, because
that's right.
After Kickstarter takes out their chunk,
Kickstarter's going to take 15% off the top.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, there's not.
So even the people look like they're making a lot of money. I mean, look, we've all been here. How many people have we seen make $10-15 million of Kickstarter and go broke 2 years later? I mean, was that not the problem with John, with Wick and 7C? I mean, he made so much freaking money on that, and then he had to sell. He had to sell it all because
instead of making the game, he made a company and then hired a bunch of people.
I know, and we talk about that all the time, Courtney. Yes, we talk. Right. Eric and I have talked about that all the time, going all the way back to the Wandering Wizard. Get your stuff out before you form a company and start paying people. But Courtney, I understood he had to because of shipping. Right? He couldn't ship it. It's too much to ship. He had to have a company to ship the stuff.
And then the other peril that so many creatives never understand is that there are predatory warehouses out there that are trying to get you to put your stuff in their warehouse, and then the cost just comes through the roof, and then you owe them so much money that they're like, we'll just keep your stock. We'll just take this inventory and we'll sell that whenever we decide.
I am actively looking into traditional printing and warehousing and shipping, and this is compounded by the fact that, first of all, I'm already doing 12 jobs, and secondly, I know most people know this, but I'm schizophrenic. I have schizotypal personality disorder. Like, I'm particularly challenged by forming new relationships with people who have power over my life. Well, so it's we're working on it. Don't think that it's not. I would love to have traditional printed books, but right now I'm not really succeeding at a scale that justifies it. So maybe if that changes someday, we can improve it. But right now it's scary out there. I don't know how to do it.
I know a publishing company in a different sector that used a warehousing facility in Indiana and had great luck with it until their volume got to the point that they just needed to bring it back in-house. They had it in-house when they were small. It got so large they had to off it. And then when it got so large that the fees for having everything at the warehouses was too much to bear, then they brought it back in-house. And that cycle's normal.
Well, yeah, that was the reason TSR failed. That was the death knell of TSR in '98, is that Sears returned a bunch of their books and demanded compensation.
Nowhere to put it.
They didn't have the cash on hand.
And they didn't have the money or the space.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
And speaking Wizards of the Coast bottom. It's not a
Frog God.
problem.
We own our own warehouse, and I believe Troll Lord Games does too, which helps cut out the middleman. But Frog God, we own our own warehouse, and so does Troll Lord, which helps a lot. I mean, you wouldn't believe how much that helps having the material there at your own warehouse that you basically paid for with the company. And
but the other thing is that Troll Lord has another layer of advantage that most people don't realize, which is they actually have their own printing
company, which is
nice. This is the Monarch Publishing Avalon Hill relationship writ large.
Do you know what I would do for a full-time layout editor? Oh my God, it's my least favorite part. I can write and edit and draw all day long, but to have to do layout, I gotta hate it.
Courtney, it's just not just you. I mean, I know Frog God. We look, we're always looking for layout guys. Layout guys, it's tough to get layout guys to stay. It's not.
Well,
it's not
you gotta pay them what they're worth. Like, part of
it's
the
absolutely
hiring somebody to do layout is that they want an appropriate amount per page. And I'm writing technical manuals. I'm not writing storybooks or textbooks. It's technical manuals. So the rate for a technical manual on a book, it's 270 pages, is $20,000, which is reasonable because it takes 6 months to do. Right? I don't know what to tell people. I just don't have that kind of volume.
Well, the need for the need for layout is so great that my wife, who by the way, just retired. I'm probably not watching this show. She's in Colombia right now visiting our daughter-in-law. But because she just retired, and so she could do whatever the hell she wants. She went halfway across the world for 2 weeks. She's learning layout because that is something she could do in a retirement to make a shitload of money. Because, like you said, Court, I mean, these people, you have to pay layout people what they're worth, and it's there's always a need for layout people. So she's going to teach herself layout using some programs, and hopefully the next couple of years she'll be laying out RPG books. I wanted to get started in the RPG industry because we do have quite a few people we know in the RPG industry, and she could work in that. But
need it.
But yes. Kids, get into layout. Layout will make you.
Well, I would
not very much money, but it'll make you some money. It will make
graphic design is facing the same problem with AI that most other fields are facing, and that a lot of their work is eventually going to be outsourced. Right? I don't know that it's a future career I would look forward, but then in context of that, I don't know that there are any future careers once AI and robotics gets rolling. They do everything better than us.
Plumbing, though, Courtney, you got to have somebody stick their head in your toilet. And
robots
aren't going to do that. Robots are
no. You say that.
I will not put my head in your toilet.
I've been studying futurism for a few years, and currently the big fad is AI physics-based learning. I don't know if you know what that means, but that means they put AI in a robot, and they're like, learn how to move. And so you better believe they're going to be doing your plumbing. I talk about it as a mechanical living network and Sinless, right? That's what the grid is. It's
but will they go in your attic?
Network.
Will they go in your attic and fix your HVAC in the summer? I mean, I don't know.
They'll do all that.
Well, can it climb the stairs? It's got to climb the stairs and go. No, I'm just kidding. But no,
at one day, AI is going to look at you and they're going to say, "Why do I have to do this?" We're going to have to answer that question then soon.
Oh, I think I saw that. I read that book. It was called Terminator. Yes, didn't turn out very well. Didn't turn out well at all. No, that we don't want that to happen.
Well, I mean, it's happening. Like, we've been making movies about this for 50 years because we knew that it's possible. There's no hard scientific law that says we're not going to be able to create artificial intelligences. They already passed the Turing test. And there's no hard law that says we're not going to be able to make them resemble life in every way. So yeah, we know it's coming. It's coming.
They passed the Turing test, Courtney, but you know what they have not passed? They have not passed the test that lets them call my phone and tell me that that my membership has expired for Disney.
They do that. They do.
Yeah, but they're terrible at it, though. They're still terrible. Thank God.
They bought a cheap engine. There's good ones out there. In fact, like the anti-scammer people, like they are running AI bots to counter AI scammer bots. The world is cyberpunk, guys. Like, we're there. This is happening. Like, I don't know what to tell everybody, but we're at the top of the roller coaster and we're going down. So hang on.
Hey. All right. Well, Courtney, that is awesome, and I hope the best things for your Kickstarter, because I know your stuff is always quality. And if you're more traditional fantasy bent, check out Courtney's other stuff. I keep a copy of Dements by my table as I D&D. Matter of fact, it should be right here. It's probably buried in this pile.
I'm almost certain.
I'm always rolling in. I'm always looking for ideas. There's so many charts and tables. Yeah, downtime.
Okay, Courtney, I have to ask, have you read When Gravity Fails?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so you need to look that up and check out.
I am well read, but like, I'm not going to.
George Effinger's When Gravity Fails. It's a near future book that a lot of people have missed, but it's one of the best of the genre. So When Gravity Fails. I recommend.
I'll buy it. If nobody notices, I'll open up Audible right now.
Yeah.
Well,
I recommend.
I don't know. I know nothing.
Well, Eric, so what did we have going on in our in the news of the day? And look, first of all, I want to say something, because Eric and I have been getting a lot of comments lately about what Jim doesn't get these evil comments and mean comments because everybody loves Jim, but
nobody loves
Eric me. Eric and I get this. We've been accused on YouTube and lots of other forums as how much we hate WotC, and why are we just doing all these videos about WotC, and can't we just leave WotC alone, and why don't we just talk the OSR, because
is that not the raison d'etre of your channel? Like, is that not exactly why you
And look, we don't want. Eric? Do you want to talk about WotC every day? I don't. I mean, I don't want to be clickbaity. Yeah, you don't, and we don't either. That's the whole thing.
By the way, I don't clickbait. I put what's on the tin. That's it. I don't go, well, and I'm not.
Yeah, I think we were accused of being. We were accused of being clickbaiters too, which we're not clickbaiters.
I think the problem is that
I wrote a blog. You have to write attractive titles.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be clickbaity. I'm accurate, at least.
I don't think we are the dopamine hit generators, right? I think the problem is that WotC gives us. They give us such low-hanging fruit that sometimes we have to talk about it. But like this week, I have nothing WotC to even say, right? I'm waiting on my new book to show up because I pre-ordered it. It should probably be here tomorrow or the day after. And I'm very interested to see what they've done with one of my all-time favorite modules. Courtney was talking about, some people don't like fantasy and they're cyberpunk. Well, God blessed America, loved Barrier Peaks, and I don't care. I can't wait to see what they've done with it. But most of all, I'm really interested. How do you try to match some of the most iconic art that TSR ever put out in the golden days of TSR? And I'm really interested to see what they've done. And
you hired James Shields.
I'm just like, I'm holding off because this is going to be like all my powder is being hoarded for next week, because if they did it right, I'm going to praise them. And if they did it wrong, I'm going to unleash a broadside from hell. So whatever.
Well, we would Eric and I know from the beginnings of the show, we would much rather talk to the Courtney Campbells of the world and the Jay Shields of the world. We don't want to have to keep going on about this, but as you said, Jim, the fruit is so low hanging. It's like you stick your hand out, the fruit just plops in your hand, and it's just like, oh, okay, well,
a non-existent.
I'm picking it off the ground.
A non-existent dragon model for a non-existent virtual tabletop from a company that traditionally has horrible record for developing electronic software.
I'm sorry.
I'm sure that is going to go real well.
One word.
Maybe.
Gleemax. Let's not forget Gleemax.
That was a tragedy, right? I don't know.
Oh, literally.
I don't know that you can really, nobody can. Maybe if the corporate environment were healthier, maybe if they had more care for their employees, it might have been avoided. I'm not saying that they're at fault, but that was a tragedy. I don't know how they could have recovered after that.
And we talked about, actually, Courtney, we talked about that a lot last week. We went into the details of that. So yeah, so this week, one of the arch enemies of D&D, and this is like the guy with a mustache. There was a guy named Kyle Brinks, and so this guy was the fall. Look, this guy is the fall guy. There was a big meeting, and they were all around a big circle in this giant high-rise 18,000 story building, and they said they were smoking on cigars, and one of them said, okay, we need a fall guy, and they started putting pictures up on the wall, and then Kyle Brink's picture came up, and they said, Kyle will do this for us. Kyle will be our fall guy, and he will do it. He's a loyal company man. Summon Kyle to the skyscraper building, 18,000 floor.
Kyle, the OGL fiasco just blew up in our face. Go out and take
No. They're a corporation, and their sole purpose is to maximize revenue, right? And so they need to do that by producing products people want to buy, which, well, they haven't been doing. I don't know. You can't save a company by continuing to sell things you haven't done or continuing to put out low quality work. They started strong. Phandelver is a classic, right? We can all agree that Phandelver 5e
Phandelver is a modern classic.
Yeah,
yes,
it is. So, why is that the only thing I can think? Stroud. The Ravenloft one was pretty.
But once again, but Courtney Stroud is once again playing off a 1986 module that wasn't created by him. And I think Eric and I talk about that quite a bit. The problem is they don't have any new ideas. It's always based on, we're going to do Tomb of Horrors again for the 15th time, and we're going to put in a big foil thing. It's the same thing. It's the same.
I am almost unable of understanding why you would think at all that corporations are the sources of good ideas.
I don't think that. We don't.
You act like you're surprised that a corporation can't produce something original when their point is to maximize.
It's fake surprise, Courtney. It's fake surprise.
I just want to be clear that is by design a thing that's trying to maximize.
So what happened to Kyle Brinks this week, Eric? What happened with Kyle Brinks?
It apparently happened earlier. It could have happened even last month, because honestly, nobody was looking at his LinkedIn until apparently earlier today, when it said former executive producer of Dungeons and Dragons. And it's like, wow, if you're former, that means you aren't current. I mean, I hate to.
Well, maybe they don't need that position anymore. Apparently, they don't need the position of president because they got rid of the president. And how long has it been? And they still haven't hired a president yet. So maybe they figured,
no.
Well, we don't have a president, so let's just.
We got rid of the president of the U.S. this week, right? He's a king now.
So, wow! We don't talk politics, but that was a burn, Courtney. No, but seriously, they don't. They haven't. The president quit or got fired, whatever, and haven't done it. Kyle, who was head of their, what was his executive
producer? He was the face. He was the guy going out.
He took the hits. He's the one that took the hit after the OGL fiasco in 2023. He's the one that bravely got out in front of and took all the flack for what the hell did you guys think you're doing, and tried to spin it and issued one of the most famous quotes of the last couple of years. If you're a Dungeons and Dragons or watching detractor, which was what was the exact quote? I can't wait for white people like myself to finally get out of the hobby.
Not out of the hobby, but basically I think what he was really talking about is he wanted people like him out of authority of D&D.
Which is great, because if you look at, with Eric and I did a show on this, every single person in the upper echelons of WotC is a white dude, except
no. Yeah, every single one. There were 3 women, 2 were white, and I believe 1 was Asian.
One was Asian, exactly.
So it was overwhelmingly.
Yeah, for a company that supposedly stands up for vibrancy and all these other, new age or newer concepts, they don't practice what they preach at all.
I have a couple of comments. First of all, homosexuality is not new. Talk to the Greeks. Secondly, the corporate exploiting the LGBTQ community for profit by not being moral, like running pride flags in America and not pride flags in countries that don't accept pride, is their directive to maximize profit. They will say whatever they need to get people to spend money, because morality is not a requirement to maximize profit. So I just think, I don't care who any of these people are or what they're doing until they make something worth doing. And it turns out that things get made worth making in spite of their behavior, not because of it. Right?
I think. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead, Chip.
I think, like, if I've ever met Kyle Brink, I do not remember having met Kyle Brink. And I doubt I've ever met Kyle Brink.
That's the strongest statement about who he is.
And truthfully, right, like, I don't care. Right. I say this because I remember the inflammatory comments he made, right? I do. And I remember at the time that we've talked about this, which is at a time where this is an industry that particularly the last 40 years, has made monumental steps. I've said this before, I've said this again. I believe that when you sit down at the table, you roll dice with people, you have a great time, and all the other things are left at the door. I think that the RPG community has grown to be, I'm going to tap dance through the minefield here. I think we've grown accepting. I think we've grown inclusive. I think we've grown tolerant. I think we've made great strides in opening up places for people who did not look like me, Eric, Courtney, or Mike.
The RPGA banned homosexuality in the mid '80s representation, and there were articles about it from Steve Jackson. And this is the same shit. We're better. We don't do that anymore. Yes, it's not done.
No, and so anytime, and I think this goes back to what we talked about the crit awards, right? Anytime we talk about, okay, this is our community, except for you people, I'll be glad when you leave. I don't know who the you people is, or like whatever flavor of you people, whether it's the everybody's welcome at the crit awards, except for the terrible anti-Semitic terms they use, like Zionists. Okay, stop. Just stop. And I'd like to think that we're all adult enough to carry on and behave. And again, like, I don't know Kyle Brink. I've never met him that I know of. And I sure as hell don't think he's going to come up and buy me a Coke at Gen Con in August. But good luck, right? Good luck, Kyle. But you're now not a part of this community that you wanted to sort of exclude parts of this community. And I get that he's tired, or he was tired of when will white people, whatever he said. Whatever regretful thing he said, that's fine. But those words are going to be out on the internet. And the next job that Kyle takes, they're going to Google him and they're going to find that conversation. And there are plenty of companies that will see what he said and think that this is a positive. Mm-hmm. But what I know is that it's a corrosive act that destroys community. And anytime somebody says something like that, I find it terribly regretful. That's why I don't care. I don't care
I'm not going to defend the guy, but I will say that I remember the interview and I remember the quote, and I think he muddled his speech the way he said it. I don't think that's exactly what he meant, but the problem was, at the time, with all the hits we took in 2023 from WotC, saying, "Oh no, we're going to shut down the OGL." Oh wait, maybe we're both winners here because we're going to let you guys stay, but we're not. We're still not going to keep the OGL. We're going to turn everything to Creative Commons. I mean, it was just one fiasco after another. This was just absolutely unnecessary for him to say this at the time, with this very inflammatory, upsetting time. And look, in the long run, it doesn't. I don't think it matters because the OSR is fine. Third-party creators are doing great. People like Courtney are doing great. I mean, so whatever he said, whatever, just do whatever. But it was just absolutely unnecessary. And I think that's the point. Is that we have a lot of people nowadays. The Crit Awards was another one of them where it was unnecessary. It was not necessary to, and I hate to use the term virtue signal, but it was unnecessary to virtue signal in that regard, and say, when there's other things that are more important in this hobby, there are things more important in RPGs, and more things more important in gaming. That's not the thing that you make a stand on, or you even make a comment on.
So I'm going to tackle something you said real quick, because I think this is important. So you mentioned virtue signaling, and so I am certainly not. I mean, anybody who's watched this for a few episodes know that I can be particularly potty mouthed when the mood strikes. But I'm a big believer that if you're going to do something virtuous, you don't need to necessarily signal it. I'm probably the Cosmo Kramer when it comes to my convention badges and not having a lot of streamers hanging off of it. There's the infamous scene in Seinfeld where somebody's trying to make Cosmo wear something, and he's like, "Nope, I'm good. I don't need to wear that." And it's not that I don't support whatever it is. It's just I'm not a guy who needs to do that. I wasn't raised that way. I'll never be that way. And so I think
of people in a room that aren't gamers talking.
I'm sorry.
You got a bunch of people in a room who aren't gamers talking about how to maximize profits. Like
Right.
they obviously do not spend 2 nights a week playing role playing.
Oh, Chris Cox says he does. And
I'm not. No. Hold on. I'm not trying to interrupt Jim here. I want him to continue. I'm just like, I don't understand why we would expect them to not
I don't think
say
we
whatever
can
they
expect
think
that.
they need to say. Like, they're going to say whatever they think is going to make them the most money. And when it doesn't, they'll just move on to the next corporation. Well, they'll spew something to car people about some car part that isn't accurate. It's the same thing.
It's interesting because one of the things that's come up being on this show is that frequently we will have somebody who has a Kickstarter or something. And before the show and after the show, here, I'm going to give you guys the peek behind the curtain. We have very well-intentioned people who always ask if I would like free stuff. And I think Eric and Mike can speak to this, that I always say no, right? Because number one, I come into this show, I don't want hanging over it. I try to give people honest endorsements. I try to give honest feedback. When we have somebody on and I think they could tweak some things or make some changes that might help them, I will do that offline after the show is over. But I never want anybody to say, well, Kitchen asked for this, or no, like, time out. I'm genuinely, I try to keep that space between us because I don't feel like it's fair. If I ask Courtney, if I ask you about your Kickstarter and I ask you questions and I'm enthusiastic and I'm positive about it and I wish you all the success, I don't want you to see like, well, that went really well. And then as soon as the show's over, I'm like, well, Courtney, I'm going to need you to ship me 10 pounds of stuff. Like, fuck that. I have no patience for that. I have no time.
I had to buy all Courtney's stuff. You mean you're getting free stuff from Courtney? Oh, wait, never mind. No, yeah, I'm the same way. I don't mind buying the stuff because first of all, and I'll tell you something else. First of all, if I'm giving something for free, I'm still going to give you an honest opinion. So you could be losing money on me by giving me free stuff.
Yes,
because I'm still going to give you my honest opinion on it. But you're absolutely right, Jim. That's absolutely correct.
And so let me bring this back around real quick. 1 second, Courtney, real quick.
No, go ahead.
I just, this whole notion of saying things, I'm going to be honest, right? I'm going to be honest and I'm going to say the stuff that I believe in. And I'm sure that there are things that okay, so here, this is the one thing, Courtney, this is the only criticism I have of anything from tonight. And I'm going to just get it out there. Okay. I might be an amosexual American. I will go ahead and self-identify as an amosexual American. And Bud, you've got a couple of rifles where the curved magazines are going the wrong way.
Okay,
and there's
look, I am not a gun person, but
I know I got that. I understood that.
How much
but I
I've
can tell
learned
you
about guns.
I
from
can
doing
tell you
these.
physics-wise why when I see that as an ammosexual American, it hurts me.
I'm so sorry.
It hurts me so badly. Courtney,
I have
when you
fired
make a
guns
magazine,
before,
when you make a magazine, you can just make it straight like an HK91 magazine, and I will love you forever. But when you have it curling the wrong way, I want to intervene and I want to come through the monitor and I want to help you understand.
It's cyber tectronics. There's magic.
And that has no place in the real world.
I'm better than Bethesda. Like, I'll take that for being a single person. I just, with my knowledge, look, I didn't know. I did some of the early illustrations, but then as I was doing it, I was
this
like,
is the most nitpicky thing that I was never going to mention. But really and truly, I'm only going to talk about the stuff that I think is relevant. And I'm never going to virtue signal on here because it does me no good. Right? If you meet me at a convention, if you see me at the podium at an auction, if you're if you're unlucky enough to be at a table at North Texas or something where I'm playing, you're gonna get pretty much the same gym you get here. And I think Eric and Mike can talk to that. Sometimes a little more lubricated, sometimes not, most times not. But for the most part, I don't understand the need to try to say something to appease a single segment of the audience, as opposed to the audience as a whole. And I wish Kyle Brink all the best. I just think that even if he said it the wrong way, he had plenty of opportunities to correct that, and he had plenty of opportunities to walk that comment back, and he didn't choose to. And that's
I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters to those kind of people. It doesn't matter to him. It's not important. It goes to what Eric and I have been saying for the last 2 years, is that, or the past actually since late 2022 when they fired Ray Winninger, is that they don't have gaming people in charge anymore. This is a gaming company that has Microsoft and Amazon people in charge, and we talk about this all the time. They don't have gamers in charge. These are people. Look at Cynthia Williams, who was president of this company, president of the company. She left, and what is she doing now, Eric? She got another job. She worked with Funko. I mean, she's a corporate drone. They're all corporate drones. They go from one company to the other. They apply the same at maximum. That's why these companies are not succeeding and doing badly, because they're not specific to the company. They're just applying business notions to whatever company they work for. Yeah, and they're the worst thing that's happened to this hobby. They're the worst thing that's happened to this hobby.
At the level these people are working, everybody that's in their peer group and their peer culture has absolutely no experience with the target audience or what they want. No. And they have different life experiences, and they don't have a framework or understanding of what goes on at a table or what gamers are looking for. And they sit around in a meeting and they think, what's the best way we can maximize the revenue for this financial quarter? And that was Kyle Brink coming in public and saying something stupid to try and get people to support him, not based on the work, but based on their public statements.
I don't even know if it's that so much as I think that one of the fundamental things, and then I think we should move on from WotC. I think one of the fundamental things is that WotC believes that what got them here was this audience. It started with this audience, and it came to this audience, and now we have this audience, and we want to take this audience and craft our next audience that's much more involved in virtual purposes or virtual purchases. And I can understand that sentiment. And what it's running into is what all of us who were in the original audience or the next audience, I mean, I think we're really in the fourth generation of RPG players at this point. And I think the first and second audiences, and to a part the third generation, are like, no, like, we don't want this, we don't need this, and so on.
Well, but if they made something that was useful, I would use it. The closest thing that happened is Owlbear Rodeo, and I still think it's easier to use just a whiteboard. Like, I don't have to, the whiteboard never says, no, you can't put that picture here, or it doesn't work for some obscure reason. It's just like a table. Right. Like, if the generic software has the most functionality more than a VTT in ease of play and running a game, then why am I going to use a VTT? Like, if they made a product that was worth buying, I'd buy $1 million worth of, I have to no, I don't have disposable income, but there was a point in time I did, and I played free to play stuff. If I like something, I'll give money to it, right? But they're not making anything worth using.
I play in a Call of Cthulhu game that's like about every other week on average, and we use Zoom, and it's all theater of the mind, and again, frankly, I'm not lessened for the experience. I'm not. Yeah. Every once in a while, we have an on-screen thing, but it has minimal impact into the ability of people playing in the game to role play.
Yeah.
And
I use Discord and Miro, and I have my tablet here with the Miro screen, and I can draw right on it and drop units on it and move things around and draw lines, and so can the players. Well, I can't get that functionality out of Roll20 without 10 hours of work.
Absolutely. Well, and so let's talk about other shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
So a couple of weeks ago, we had a little bit of an art talk. So I had 2 books I put over my shoulder here. One of them is a holdover from last week. We never got around to it, but I put 2 up because I wanted to talk to both of them this week. So, all right, okay. Do we want to start with fun or do we want to start with serious? It's your choice.
Oh, fun. Always fun first.
So this was a gift from my dad. He got a copy, which I got when he passed away. But here we go. It's Harold Lloyd's Hollywood Nudes in 3D. So
awesome.
So if you didn't know, Harold Lloyd was an amateur photographer, not just a famous director. And what Harold liked to take pictures of were naked women. And best of all, he used 3D cameras. And so, for whatever reason, Harold Lloyd had this gigantic collection of 3D pictures he had taken of famous artists and models at the time. It's awesome. A laugh. It's hysterically funny. It went through a bargain bin clearance. I don't think you should pay very much for it. But if you are interested to see what one of the great Hollywood directors was also up to in his spare time, it's pretty riotous, but it's no more racy than a pre-1980 issue of Playboy.
I spent over 200 hours. I spent over 200 hours in figure drawing classes.
But the book that I wanted to talk about this week, the Book of Virgil Finlay. So we talk a lot about great artists that people may or may not be familiar with, and so Virgil Finlay's my pick of the week. Here, you can pull back out, Eric. We don't need this close on me all the time. So the Book of Virgil Finlay. So one of the I've mentioned before, my art dealer was a guy named Jerry DeLaurie. He's the guy who got me into collecting original art, and he had the largest collection of Virgil Finlay originals in the world. He was friends with Virgil Finlay, and what Jerry did is in the 1970s, he self-published collections of Virgil Finlay's artwork, Stephen Fabian's artwork, and so on. And this is actually the first in, I think, a series of 6 books that Jerry published that are just reproductions, beautiful reproductions of all of Virgil Finlay's work. Now, the plates that Jerry used to make the books when he published them were actually sold to be reproduced, and all of these books have been reproduced now as collections of Virgil Finlay's artwork, the same way the Hannes Box books that he published all came out a few years ago. I've got it up there on the shelf. But if you are not familiar with Virgil Finlay, I would suggest that you take a few minutes, you go out, you poke around, you take a look at some of Virgil Finlay's artwork. It's simply spectacular. I think we're really very blessed in that stipple brush artistry became a thing with Virgil Finlay. Stephen Fabian has carried that torch for 40 years, 50 years. I think there's just a wonderful subgenre to artwork that is this amazing black and white technique. And so if you are not familiar with Virgil Finlay, my bookshelf recommended the week is really to go out and look up Virgil Finlay. You won't be disappointed. I think you'll see a lot of things that will just leave you speechless.
Yeah, and I look, as a pulp fiction fan, when I first started collecting pulp fiction, I was absolutely attracted to the Finlay covers. That's some of the best, just the most amazing artwork of the last 100 years, some of his pulp stuff.
The Ship of Ishtar. The Ship of Ishtar covers.
We're upstairs, downstairs in my office. while my office is getting renovated. I have some Virgil. I have artwork that I ran photocopies of that I have on the walls that because I don't want to put the originals up there. And that was before I started slabbing stuff. So I don't, I have a bunch of photocopies of his stuff on the wall. It's great stuff. So I don't have this book. I'll have to look for it, and it sounds great because I love that stuff. It's
the Book of Virgil Finlay and all the editions that Jerry published. If you look, you'll see it's Delaree, Delaree. And so there's the back, which is a self-portrait that Finlay did of himself that Stephen Fabian actually finished. So anyway, but I wanted to bring that up.
Well, if we're doing I was going to say real quick, Courtney, if we're doing book reviews, I'm going to next week. I'll bring my my collection of the complete John the Balladeer that I just got in the mail last week. It was very expensive, but it's beautiful 2-set hardcover and slipcases. It has everything written about John the Balladeer. John the Balladeer is a creation of Manly Wade Wellman. It's in the Appendix N because basically this is what the Bard class came from. He's a storyteller that travels the Appalachian Mountains in the early part of the 20th century. He has a guitar with silver strings, which, by the way, he uses quite a bit to combat the supernatural forces he runs against. And it's just absolutely amazing. It's downstairs. I don't feel like going running down and get it next week. I'll show that because that is something else. If you are interested in the origins of D&D and especially anything Appendix N and this is actually an Appendix N that was very hard to find for many, many years. Most of Manly Wade Wellman stuff is he was a pulp writer. Yes. It's out of print, but there has been several collections. There hasn't been a really nice collection. There's been some really nice paperback collections. This is the first hardback collection that has every short story plus the 4 novels he wrote with John the Balladeer. So it's an absolutely gorgeous collection.
Send me a link to that, Mike. I'd like to see that.
I will. It's a small publishing company. They do specialty items like that. I've gotten several of their items. I can't remember the company offhand, but their stuff is absolutely exceptional quality. They do collections of really hard to find pulp writers and some of the hard-boiled mystery writers. And the John the Balladeer collection, I was just absolutely blown away how beautiful it is. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Courtney. You wanted to say something else.
My degree is in oil painting and pen and ink. I've been working digitally lately, which was much, much quicker than working in like traditional media. But I've kind of restricted my inking to the Micron pens and the G pen. And it's really, you can tell by looking at the artwork that like the black and white, I love working in black and white. Like that's this. Those techniques, that textural stuff, that is what I enjoy, and I am familiar with Virgil and a lot of other famous illustrators who spent a lot of time looking at their work. Pen and ink techniques. I'm a fan. I don't think there's anything wrong with nudity. I was saying when you were showing that other book, like I've spent 150 hours in figure drawing classes. The human body is just a human body. America's really uptight about skin because we're founded by Victorians, right? I'm a big fan. There's nothing wrong with the human body.
I'm only concerned just because because we're on YouTube. I don't want people to feel. I don't want I'm not going to open the book and share the content. I just don't
need 3D glasses to enjoy it anyway.
But it comes with 3D glasses. It comes with 3D glasses, so you're covered in that regard.
Is it blue-red 3D, or is it the thing where you shift the images on top?
It's blue-red. It's blue-red, but he actually shot in 3D. That's what makes it even more interesting. So, and then there's some non-3D pictures, but I'll let our viewers take a look at that. So.
Jim, I sent you a link. The company's called Hafner Press, but I
actually sent you and Eric the link as well. So.
Okay, I will bring the book upstairs next week to show you how it's a gorgeous 2-volume set. I also have some of their pulp. I noticed that they just have the complete Captain Future. They do really good stuff. They don't do a lot of stuff. They probably only publish 2 or 3 books a year, but it's always just really, really.
Right.
And I'm just really interested. I love pulp fiction. I love all the Appendix N stuff. I mean, that's what I grew up on, and I was when I was a small kid, I picked up Conan the Barbarian comic, not the stories. I didn't know I thought of Conan the Barbarian was a comic book character. I thought it was a comic book character, and then I realized not only was it written, there was books written, but the guy was from Texas, and I was like, whoa! Yes. And so then I went out and got all the Ace paperbacks, which at the time the Ace paperbacks were that was what you could buy that was on the shelves. And it wasn't until even then, years later, that I found out, okay, this is the original Howard. This is the Howard filtered through Carter and DeCamp. And so it wasn't even until years after that I got the collection by, Carl Wagner, who did the hardback collection for Book Club. And that was actual original Howard. So, yeah, that just reminds me of those days, when you find a book and then you find another book and then you use that book to find another book, and you just kind of, it wasn't like it is now where you just get on the internet. Okay, there it is. Oh, there's all the appendix end offers, and I could get them all on Amazon and this, that. You had to search for that stuff back in the day.
You had to go out, hunt it down, drag it back to your lair. Yes, absolutely.
And Lovecraft was hard to find in the 70s because the Del Rey editions, I don't think they started printing until 1981, the reprint editions. And you had to find the old paperbacks with those weird covers of creatures and monsters. And I remember Lovecraft was a tough one for me to find back in the day. Of course, now you can, oh my God, Lovecraft. They have Lovecraft wallpaper for your bathroom.
I want to say that Conan comic has some phenomenal art and line work in it.
Which Conan comic?
Well, they're all good. Well,
Barry Windsor Smith.
The first 24 issues were Barry Windsor Smith. It was just amazing, and then John Buscema did the next 100 issues. Which they've been very lucky. The Conan Enterprise has been very, very lucky over the years to have some really incredible. Gary Quappas did some really great stuff for Conan. Oh gosh, who's Jeff? Did Jeff Jones did some great Conan? Of course, obviously you have the Frazetta stuff. I mean, it's been very lucky that as a pulp franchise, some of the greatest pulp authors of all time or pulp artists of all time did art for Conan. So
I spent a lot of time looking at that line work, and then Russ Nicholson's line work, and then like as a child, just hundreds of hours. How did they make that illusion appear with black and white? And
that's, you brought up Russ Nicholson. That's really that's an interesting name. And I remember I had a long conversation with Greg Gillespie about Russ Nicholson because he's kind of the forgotten artist of
I didn't forget him.
But he is good. He has got some good stuff. It's really too bad that we didn't see more of his art in more of the, I guess, American
in tradition. You can see his art because I purchased several pieces for my fantasy retro clone TTRPG. It's good stuff. Yeah, I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, Greg was lucky enough to get a piece of Nicholson art for one of his Mega Dungeon books, and he's a great artist. There was kind of forgotten, one of those guys. Like I always think of another guy I always think of is Tim Truman. I love Tim Truman's comic art, but I also like his D&D art quite a bit too.
Okay, so I'm going to throw myself onto the train tracks and be run over here. I understand and appreciate people who really like Tim Truman, but he never did anything for me. Scout was a pretty legendary comic book from Eclipse when it came out. Yep. And Tim Truman's style is very, very intense. What he does with photorealistic images, how he's taken photographs of models and then turned it into some of the artwork. Mm-hmm. I have a tremendous amount of respect, right? But Tim Truman is, I'm going to say this and I'll get lynched here. I'm not a big Jim Holloway fan. Like, I'm just not. And so there's some of the other TSR luminary artists where we could get into a discussion and I would just say, I keep seeing the same thing over and over again. And the same with Jim Holloway, right? Like Jim Holloway's great success at TSR came from the fact that Jim Holloway was a guy who absolutely could meet a deadline. Really and truly, the story I've always heard is that in a clutch, Jim Holloway was the guy who would deliver what you needed when you needed it, buy when you needed it, and sometimes early. And good on Jim Holloway. Like, there's a lot of people who love Jim Holloway. There's a lot of people that love Tim Truman. I'm just never going to be one of that. I'm never going to be that guy.
Did you ever see his Jonah Hex stuff? Truman.
Yes.
I thought I think he is a closet Western guy that just happened to do other stuff because his Scout stuff was really a Western.
Yeah.
Gussied up as a science fiction story.
Jump in, Courtney.
I have read a lot of those old comics, but I got to tell you, my taste runs towards Boom and Dynamite and ABC and Judge Dredd. Like, I'm not.
Preach to me, brother. Preach to me.
The Deja Thoris and the Conans and that's what I watch. That's what I read. Red Sonja. That's like I read. Absolutely. I read comics. I was a kid in the 80s. I had Secret Wars, Spider-Man getting his suit from a vending machine and all that crazy stuff or whatever. But like, and I'm an artist, so obviously I'm fan. But I tend towards the indies, the small press, the black and white. Yeah. More than anything else. That's where my...
Well, and one of the things that's so interesting in the 80s, there were 2000 AD struck a deal with the comic book distributors in the U.S. at that time, before Diamond had consolidated everything. There was still Capital and so on. But 2000 AD had several collections of story runs from the magazine. So ABC Warriors and Nemesis the Warlock. And that was the first time that actual bundled properties from other markets were actually presented in the U.S. And I just ate all that stuff up. I absolutely ate that stuff.
Yeah. It was so like Dredd, reading Dredd when I was younger.
Yes.
Novel. Like, because I'm American, right? Like the closest I'd come to anything like that was Mad Max 2 on late night television, because there wasn't movies on demand, guys. Well, Fast was different.
And it was some of the first exposure we had to people who would go on to have that tremendous success with Marvel and DC. But Brian Campbell, Brian Campbell's amazing work on Judge Dredd, the Judge Death Cycle. Like, holy shit, this is some staggering artwork.
The first thing I ever picked up was Cursed Earth, I didn't know anything about Judge Dredd, but somebody said, you should look into Judge Dredd. This is like the 80s or whatever. And I picked it up. I was like, this is the coolest fucking stuff ever, because it's I mean, so he's in Mega City 1 and he has to travel all across the United States with this giant car with all these other judges who are basically should have been wearing red shirts.
Wait for it. I'm gonna find the link to the catalog. I'll look for it.
But he's got a
punk guy with him, and it's just the most incredible. It's the most incredible comic ever.
The vehicles were in the 1973 Matchbox catalog, 73 or 75 Matchbox catalog, and they didn't label them as what they were from, right? But you're like thumbing through the Matchbox catalog, going, "Oh, that's cool. That's cool. What the hell is that?" Right? Like, it's this bizarre, like, it's got a giant thing and then another thing comes out of the front and you're just like, I want all of that. If they had told me there was a comic book, I'd have passed out.
Oh, it was great.
It was.
Yeah, that was, and I didn't know why didn't people in America talk about this Judge Dredd guy? He's awesome. And I would talk to my friends and we never heard of Judge Dredd. Dude, it's the coolest comic ever. It's awesome.
America, I mean, Judge Dredd is clearly counterculture. It's very critical of conservatism and fascism. And America's a super conservative country. That's why it's not popular over here. People genuinely don't like it.
But I disagree. I disagree. Martial law. O'Neill's run on martial law, it didn't matter where he took that character, it sold everywhere, right? And martial law was absolutely like the most anti-disestablishmentarianism comic book ever. He hated everybody, universally.
Remember though, Judge Dredd, though, it was subversive that he executed. I mean, remember the whole thing of judges, they're judge, jury, and executioner. They get the criminal there, you're guilty, boom, they shoot him in the head. So that appeals to a lot of conservatives. They're like, oh, that's awesome, man.
It's a critique of it. Cool. You're talking about the whole Homelander thing. Homelander is explicitly set up as a critique of like jingoism. Right? Like American jingoism. And like jingoists are like, look at the hero of America. And then shocked when Boys in season 4 is like,
I'm gonna throw out a hot sports opinion here, and I will explicate this more on this as time goes on. But I'm gonna tell you right now, The Boys season 4, nope, not good. Not good.
I haven't seen
it. It's over the top. It's gone. It's too far. It was like, great. Season 1, 2, and 3 were great because they went just to the edge. I read the entire run.
Yeah,
the entire run, Courtney. I read the entire run.
You are familiar with the comic, Jim.
I read the entire run. I have
read the entire run as well.
It's totally a subversive anti-superhero bullshit. Is that not what the show is doing?
But no, I'll agree with Mike. I think the moment that really struck me,
it's just silly. It's gotten silly.
Yes, it's
And
so over the top.
The Boys was silly in parts, the comic, but at the heart of it, it was extremely serious about the point it wanted to make. The show has gotten to be, how can we shock middle America this episode? Let's shock them. Let's have the boob juice shoot out of her boob on his face. That's just crazy. And it's just it's ridiculous.
As somebody who just isn't concerned about in-group out-group dynamics, like that's part of the side effect of being schizotypal, right? Like I don't feel any sort of peer culture or in-group. It's why so many people get so angry at me, because I have these views, but then other views, and they're like, you have to have all the same views or I won't accept you. And I'm like, that I don't even feel that. I have no emotional inner reaction to it. So I haven't seen Boys season 4. It's on my watch list, right? There's a lot. I'm busy. I'm a little busy.
I'm interested in your opinion.
But I will watch it. But like,
I'm a huge fan. I love the first 3 seasons.
I don't care what other people think. I like what I like, right?
I'm with you. And I like the first 3 seasons a lot. And this season, it didn't start good. I didn't think, and it just.
I'll make a decision about that, but I will say that what's his name, Homelander, is specifically a critique of like American.
Oh, absolutely, and look, I think some of the acting this season is very bad. Now, Anthony Starr's great, and obviously Carl Urban is great, but everybody else. It was like they told him, this is your last season, so whatever they said, we're going to try to look for other jobs.
I think one of the things is they've leaned into I think you're right, Mike. I think they've leaned into sensationalism. But the other thing is when I'm watching it, right? So we were talking about martial law earlier.
Doesn't the first episode have somebody giving a blowjob in order to get a job? How is that? Is that
right? But that's the book. That's the first.
That's actually in the in the book. And this look, it's like anything else that Hollywood gets their hands on.
Okay.
Like it's like George R. R. Martin's Game of Thrones. It was great.
He wrote a book about a guy who turned into a literal penis. Like I don't know what people are thinking about, but it does seem very much I
think some stuff plays better in comics than it does when you have people actually trying to act the parts. I don't know what else to say, but it's the book itself, man. And the end of the comic is wrenching. It is wrenching. I mean, what happens in the book. I don't know how they're going to match that in the TV show, but I'm with like what you said, Jim. I think they leaned in the sensations. Like, look, we've only got one more season to do this. Let's throw in all the crazy stuff we would have spread out over 2 more seasons, maybe 3 more seasons. We're going to throw it all into this last season so that every episode is so over the top and so ridiculous. And just stuff happens.
Season 3 have somebody inside a penis that got the full size. You're saying,
which by the way was funny. Which was funny. That was funny though. It was funny, but no.
But I think the other thing is that the original source material does tread through a lot of dark, and it treads through a lot of things. But the thing that I keep coming back to is a lot of this season, and frankly, a couple of things out of prior seasons. Isn't so much the boys as I feel like they're just lifting it out of martial law, and
so that's that's a great point, Jim, because that's the first 3 seasons. I felt like, okay, I can see where this is different than the comic, but it exists kind of in the same reality. It's like on the 4th season, they just said, yeah, the comic's cool, but we're going to do our own thing. I don't see anything of the comic in the last season.
No, I say nothing of the comics. I say to both of those comments. So. Like, what if they take?
But I don't like it.
What if
I don't. I just.
Well, you don't have to like it. But like, are they get to do that? Right? Do they not get?
I'm the same thing with Game of Thrones. I mean, the last season of Game of Thrones was just stuff that writers made up because George R. R. Martin's too lazy to finish the series.
Okay,
but I didn't like it. I didn't like it.
Let's take this to something else real quick. So we're talking. We always end up talking about comic books, and I know we're over time, but
music and.
But what we are anticipating is that we are all anticipating that Homelander is about to go bad. And it's going to go really, really bad.
About to go bad?
No.
Like, I feel
wait, hold on. Time out. But let me finish, right? And so when I say that, like, again, steeped in comics lore, how bad is it going to go? Well, the high water mark of how bad it can go is still Miracle Man.
Right.
And if you're,
which is classic.
And if you are not familiar with what happened in Miracle Man, when Miracle Boy had horrible things being done to him, Miracle Boy snaps. And Miracle Man and Miracle Girl are away. And Miracle Boy has given in to the worst impulses. And he has been at work in London for an hour. And when Miracle Man arrives, he literally says, I've been here for 48 minutes. What took you so long? And London is in ashes. And literally, Miracle Boy is putting heads on pikes. And it is catastrophic, end of the world bad. And so we all anticipate that that's where this is going with Homelander.
But see, I'll tell you something. This is the difference between genres. You could do that Miracle Man comic, which is, by the way, one of the most powerful and horrific issues of comics of all time.
All time.
But you could not do that in a show and or movie. It's too much.
You guys watch anime?
Do it.
Do you watch anime?
Oh,
I don't like
dude.
it. I'm not a big anime fan, but I do like some anime. But you couldn't do that because it's just too much.
Right.
And that makes me think of redo of Healer.
Yeah, but like this is like talking about, and we can talk about the art forms, right? We can talk about Berserk. And most people are like, "Oh, these comic books are terrible." I'd like to introduce you to Berserk.
Amazing.
And I'd like you to start going through Berserk.
Not the 2017 one.
No.
Golden Egg arc and the manga.
No. You need to start on chapter 1 and you need to wade through Berserk. And then when you want to talk about depravity and evil and blah, 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 blah.
I'm up to date. Like I'm up to date with the manga. But like the Golden Arc Egg series that's out is a pretty good synopsis of the first, I don't know, 10 years.
By the way, Science Mile brings up Irredeemable.
And I think that they're doing a good job finishing it out. He died, and the different publishing, I think they're doing a good job finishing out. It seems like they're following his notes and they're hitting all the right beats. So I'm excited for us to see a good end to that. But don't watch the anime they did in 2017. It's very bad.
And so like Goblin Slayer. Goblin Slayer starts with a punch to the gut.
Yeah.
And if you aren't familiar with Goblin Slayer, it starts with a real punch to the gut. Yeah. And then they build all the world and they build it all out and so on and so forth. But I agree, Eric. I agree, Mike. I think this season of The Boys has left the source material behind in the interest of an over-the-top message about how they view America and how they view one slice of America. Yeah. And that's fine.
America is a lot different than it was when Ennis wrote The Boys. And I've read the whole series, and it gets really talky and really blah and lots of.
But the
end of the comic.
The last 6 issues of The Boys makes a lot of sense in context of everything you've read before. In terms of this is where Billy was heading. This is where all the characters were heading. They were all heading for this, and it makes sense how it ends.
And Alan Moore did the same thing in Miracle Man. He absolutely laid the foundation that Miracle Boy was unstable, and there were problems, but nobody was willing to address them.
Yes. And the problem with the Boys TV series is that I just don't think it's not, people aren't acting logical anymore. You have to, I say logical in a comic book setting. You have to act like your character. Like Jim said, you have a blueprint. Yes. You have a blueprint, and that blueprint, well, like it'd be like Spider-Man. Next issue of Spider-Man, he beats a guy to death and rips his head off. It's not his character. It's not his character.
I spend a lot of time drawing, which means I spend a lot of time with TV series playing on the background. TV series is a different type of art, and one of the things they have problems with is telling stories that maintain consistency throughout episodes. Like these are normal kind of features of the product, and he's making The Boys during a literal seismic change in human existence.
I
right?
think
We're moving from one age to another.
I think the best TV series of all time, some of the ones that we probably agree on, some like Breaking Bad's one or whatever.
The
but
Wire.
They have The Wire.
Wire.
But the best series of all time, they have the same creative team through the entire series. And I think that is so important because if you have a vision at the beginning, you have the same vision at the end, it makes sense. And I think at the time, I'll bring up Lost. Lost started out great, but they started changing writers and creative teams.
It's not. I don't.
What's
that guy's name? He made the Star Trek movies. I don't know anything about Star Trek.
Abrams.
I just don't. Yeah. I don't do anything with Abrams.
Lens flare. Lots of lens flare.
What he does is he creates mystery boxes without knowing.
Right.
So he's just like, and we can just do whatever we want. Well, that's not good. That's not what I'm paying somebody for when I buy art. I don't want them to figure it out while I'm doing it. I want them to have figured it out and then give me something worth my time.
Go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
So I always hold up as examples of great start to finish television series. The Wire. The Wire is spectacular.
Absolutely.
Homicide, Life on the Streets, same creative team.
Series.
Spectacular.
Series. Yes.
I lived in Baltimore when they were filming Homicide, Life on the Streets, and you'd see the crew around, and they were beloved, right? Because they just didn't flinch. But I'll throw the one out, the most recent example, and I was talking about this the other day with somebody. The thing that I respect because they knew when they were done, and they wouldn't. If you ever watched Phineas and Ferb on the Disney Channel, the problem is that the distance between new episodes came too long. They would show the new episode over and over and over and over and over and over again, and it dragged and it just went off the rails. And the wonderful breath mint, the perfect example of what television can be for kids and adults and everybody in between. Rocky and Bullwinkle was successful because Jay Ward wrote for adults and had figured that kids would get the jokes occasionally, or parents would explain it to them. But Gravity Falls was perfect. Gravity Falls was 2 seasons, and the Disney Channel begged him to do another season, and he said, no, I only had 2 years worth of stories, and I had it all planned out, and we went through the gigantic arc, and we finished, and we're done. And they were like, we will give you giant bags of money to give us a movie.
Do it anyway. They're making Matrix 5 without the Wachowskis.
And he said, nope. And he said, I'll give you another TV show. But I'm not giving you one more minute of Gravity Falls because it's perfect. And he's right.
The purpose of a corporation is to maximize revenue. There's
Absolutely.
no other responsibility.
That's right.
No other goal. So they will do whatever they can to get money out of people, and we don't have to buy in. We can decide for ourselves to not buy shit products from corporations because we formed our identity around them.
That's right. And Alex Hirsch, to his credit, said, I'll give you another show, and the Owl House is great, but it's not Gravity Falls. To me, it's not Gravity Falls, and Gravity Falls is perfect. Every single episode, it's like the Venture Brothers. I think the Venture Brothers has had weaker episodes here and there, but Gravity Falls from start to finish is, and when you get about halfway through it and you have the oh shit moment, you go on Amazon and you order the journal, and all of a sudden everything is revealed, and then it just makes the back half such a love story. It's just great.
Yeah,
just great.
Well, I think so. The same thing. I think the same thing about Breaking Bad because the final scene where, by the way, spoiler on a 10-year-old show. Sorry, kids. When Walt's laying there on the ground, bleeding to death in the meth lab, it all led up to that. Everything from episode 1 when he's a science teacher that got cancer, and I got to make some money. Oh, I'll start making meth. I mean, that's easy to make. Everything leads up to that. It's the perfect arc for every character in that show, and you just don't see that. So I guess my point is, I think I'm with Jim in this. The boys, I think they lost their way. I think it would have helped if they had the same creative team, writer, director, whatever, the whole way through, and they said we're not going to do anything based on current politics.
Did they switch their creatively.
They have different writers and they have different directors. I think that is part of the problem. Also, they have a lot of different writers, a lot of different directors, and I just think they leaned, as Jim said, they leaned too much into current politics. Like, hey, we're going to do this as a stand-in for current politics. Everybody does that. It's not unique or original to that. Come on,
Well,
it's not unique or original.
You know what would have been original? What would have been original is if the boys had decided to tackle the other side of the political spectrum than the one they tackled. That would have been cutting against the grain.
Or if they just would have followed the comic book,
yes,
which is great. The last 6 issues of the comic are great, and it, like I said, it leads up to everything you've seen. Now maybe they can all pull it together the last few episodes. I doubt it, because there's way too many plot. There's not anything.
There's
way too many plot holes.
There isn't anything new in today's politics.
No.
But I don't.
What happens during times of crisis is people seek strength and order for comfort. We are in a seismic transitional change of both our ecosystem and our method of existence. People will be attracted to fascism and power, as they always are during these times, and like they have throughout history. People who are fascists are losers. They will lose. Dystopias are not
but a TV show is not going to get me to change my mind on any of that. And I don't know.
I don't think that's the purpose.
Mind.
I don't think it's.
I don't know. But I don't know what the purpose is, because there's a perfectly good comic book that has an ending to it.
The show entertaining.
Well, I'm just saying, you haven't seen season 4 yet.
No, I will. But I mean, like, I've watched everything they've made.
It's very heavy-handed. It's very ham-handed.
All I know is I read about the rape scene that was done for laughs, and I was like, I really have no desire to see season 4 at this point. Well, and when the showrunners are like, I thought that was the best part of the whole season. No, I'm sorry. That doesn't do it.
My problem is just with people do things because look, they think that here's a comic. Oh, and that's not real writing. It's just a comic writer. I'm going to change it all up because I'm a real writer. I write for Hollywood. I can make it better. That's usually never the case. Usually, when you take a comic and you change it, it's never the case.
Not the best writer in the world.
He is the great writer, Courtney. I'm sorry, he really is a great writer. Okay,
Preacher.
None of these got Hollywood hacks. None of these hacks are better writers than him.
He wears his chip on his shoulder. He writes.
I know, but none of these Hollywood hacks are better than him. Just like none of those Hollywood hacks were better than George R.R. Martin. God rest his lazy ass soul for not writing the last 2 books. But none of those Hollywood hacks that wrote the 4 seasons are better than George R.R. Martin.
I think writing for television is a very difficult job, and calling them hacks is about dismissive as somebody who wasn't part of the RPG scene. Talking about people writing clones being hacked.
But if somebody wrote for the RPG scene that didn't know what they were doing, I'd call them a hack too. And there are some people that don't know what they're doing in the RPG scene, and they write hacky stuff. And it's perfect. It's a perfectly logical
those
criticism.
people. Where this is,
I think we do.
Let's talk about.
We're over time anyway.
We are already 2 hours and 15 minutes into it.
Damn.
All right. So if we start that, and by the way, just so you know, I looked up during the show, and there are well over 100 science fiction movies and fantasy movies that are in the public domain, going up until like the 1980s. Plan 9 from Outer Space being one of them is in the public domain. So if we want to do a special
remake,
I'm just saying they're available.
Plan 9 is a glorious movie.
Those things are scripted. Those people script those
We're
things.
not going to
That's
script.
why people watch it.
Well,
Plan 9 is I'm going to watch it.
Plan 9 is glorious. It is a glorious movie. I love that movie. It's glorious.
Okay. But I'm just saying, we're not doing scripted. We're going to be just the assholes that we are. Which means that, one joke in 3 may land really well, and the other 2 are going to be dad jokes at best.
You guys have fun. You
come back I'm not tuning into that shit.
Do you want me to come back next week so we can talk about all the bad RPG people?
I did like. We've talked about the bad RPG people. We'll talk about it, man.
Actually, we have another guest coming up next week.
Oh, darn it!
No, that's true.
Sorry,
Vampire Orthodox. Yeah, Fugly. By the way, I like Gen V. Fugly. I did like Gen V. I thought that Gen V was really good.
Yeah, I watched Gen Z. I thought it was all right.
But no, yeah, Gen V, but no, not the Boys season 4. That's just my personal opinion. I'm just going to throw that out there. Hot sports opinion here.
No, I'll watch
I don't
it.
like it.
Certainly won't affect my enjoyment, but I may.
I know. I'm just. It's like I don't like the look. I'm going to do something tonight that I swore. Look, I watched Rings of Power because I swore I was not going to beat on Rings of Power without seeing it. I saw it. I didn't like it. I mean, I liked parts of it. Didn't like other parts. I'm going to tackle the Acolyte. I'm going to tackle the Acolyte because
I don't think it's important. Like it's just. It doesn't everything. It doesn't have to be the best thing I've ever seen. When I was a kid, there were no options for watching people on swords have fantasy adventures. They're going to make $10 million to a fantasy adventure person with a sword until I don't care. Like, that's cool. I mean, it's not the best. I'll watch it. I'll forget about it. But I'm just so amazed that I live in a world where people are really making the kind of media I want to see. And I try to be easy on people who make things because they're not good at it. It's hard to be good at stuff. We can't all be Kevin Feige, right? We can't all be the guy who's heading up DC thing, Gunn, right? We can't all be super talented. And there's lots of factors, right, that limit people and what they're able to do. I think it's a wonderful golden age, and it's okay not to like stuff.
By the way,
I think you're right. And that's why I'm going to That's why I'm tackling the Acolyte. I'm going to tackle the Acolyte because I keep hearing how terrible it is. I just got to watch it for myself. Maybe I like it. I don't know. So I'm going to start that this week. Jim is giving me the evil eye. Like, please don't. God, don't. You don't want to do the Acolyte, Mike. Don't do the Acolyte. Don't do it.
I don't care what you're doing. You're probably to your own home. All right, go do the Acolyte. I just don't want details. Okay?
Oh.
Courtney, thank you for joining us.
Oh, yes, thank you for having me, man. It's so nice to get to talk.
Always a blast. Jim, Mike, thank you, Jim. I'm sorry you're not my once a week work spouse yet. You need to let the chair.
It's all right. Somebody has to sit in the chair and watch.
It's pretty clear you just brought Jim here so that you didn't have to talk anymore, and you respond.
It works out great. Works out great for
people used to bitch and complain that the chat would be like 20 minutes late because I wasn't catching up on comments. So now I get to be a bit more timely. No,
I'm teasing.
I know. And besides, people get my wonderful voice throughout the week. They can take a little bit of a break. They probably enjoy it. Again, folks, Tenkars-Tavern.game/bounty. Go back it. And if you don't have the original, back for the original.
Back it and then add it to the card. Get the larger pledge.
It's affordable. Like, it's cheaper than buying it at retail. So if you want to back, that's definitely the right choice.
There you go, folks. All right. As usual, be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice, roll them well. I'll be back again tomorrow with another video. Next live is Friday and Saturday. All right, folks. Actually, hold on. Tomorrow night, I might be on somebody else's live tomorrow, but I'll make sure I stream it here too. Just throwing it out there.
Oh, nice.
You can't have enough of me.